Hello there, everyone. It is our esteemed pleasure here at Tier Monster to bring you the second week of the Challenger Circuit. Of course, today is going to be the EU side of affairs. I'm Verbalosty, and alongside me, as always, is going to be D-Sinks. D-Sinks, you're reading. Oh dear. It appears we lost D-Sinks. Feels bad, man. That's what I get for asking how he's reading. So, for the meantime, we'll keep things up. A New Game Plus versus Victoria's Secret is going to be the first matchup to the Oki. Now, considering what happened last week, I am looking forward to how this game is going to go. Mainly because New Game Plus, when they fought Sens, or SNES, they keep switching around every week. It's really annoying. It can end up... It was a stomp, sure, but it was a very slow one. It was somewhat competitive. The Victoria's Secret Nova's Orsa game, however, not so much. There was significantly more one-sidedness, to put it politely. Oh dear, it appears we still have lost D-Sinks. Press F in chat for D-Sinks. Now, New Game Plus. We must consider the possibility that they have studied Victoria's Secret. Well, to be fair, that's fair on both sides of the tape, because both of these teams are well known. There's a ton of players in here that have been around the scene for a long time. A couple of new faces as well, here or there, sprinkled in, but for the most part, these teams have either got a good feel for each other, either through general ranked play, knowing each other, this, that, and the third, that kind of thing. So, we're going to see now the first couple of picks and bans coming in through swiftly. New Game Plus opted for the first pick, because they want the coin toss. It's going to be the Odin ban first. Victoria's Secret fired back by the RTO ban. Completely understandable. If an RTO sneaks onto the field in either support or solo, it's not a good look. And with Terra as well, a lot of the tankier gods in the game being removed off the board.
Can you hear me?
Hello there. Nice to see you again, D-Sinks.
All right. My microphone just stopped working, but I got that
Rip.
one all sorted out. And as you mentioned, yeah, Victoria's Secret taking on New Game Plus. Victoria's Secret last week, you mentioned it, they stomped. And I'm kind of willing to throw that game out for Victoria's Secret and for Novus Orsa both. Hard to count that one, all things considered. Also not going to be counted in this game is going to be Artio, as she has been taken off the board as well. Scotty will be the first selection coming out here for New Game Plus, and Hebo instantly for Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, the Hubwa first pick. This piques my curiosity. Now, we have seen Frostiak run the jungle Hubwa. We've seen Stefan play it once, I think. I'm gonna need to be corrected on that if I'm wrong. That's a lot more shaky. But Gorgonzola picking up the Sobek as well is going to be a good shout, because they can then apply good anti-heal to Skadi, who will probably be building some form of lifesteal. Devourers is quite popular, and the Sun Wukong as well being picked up. And a Kabrakan. That kind of shakes things up a little bit, though.
Yeah, it shakes things up a little bit just looking at the standpoint of Efix played Wukong jungle exclusively last week. He played Wukong in both games, looked pretty good on it. The Kabrakan pick more than likely going to the jungle side of things. And yeah, I see the B. I'll talk about it in a second, but Kabrakan potentially could end up in the jungle. I'd rather see him there than the solo lane, which he could also be. Sobek, I feel like that's more of just a Gorgonzola likes playing this guy, so who's picking it up. AMC, this is janky. This is a janky pick no matter what, but I'd assume this is going to end up in the mid lane with a Hebo jungle. That would make the most sense to me. Isis, Geb, and Erlong bans make the most sense to these teams respectively, as does a Robin ban, as none of them will be on the table to join us for this first game.
Yeah, getting rid of a lot of Egyptian gods. They're getting quite a bit of flack so far in the picks and bans. But Vulcan, however, going to be picked up. That's probably going to go towards Mr. Stefan. But Amuse and Carb. I want to come back to this for a slight moment, as we'll see Athena is going to be locked in there for New Game Plus. Amuse and Carb, he doesn't bring too much to the table, at least initially, but he does have a couple of merits. Primarily, late game, he is one of the kings of 1 versus 1 dueling, and he has some pretty nasty lane clear if you get caught inside of the hives and the honey.
Yeah, I mean, the bees and honey clears the wave at level 2. It is really that simple in terms of AMC, so he's going to have lane pressure pretty much wherever he is put at. Vulcan going to the mid lane is not going to be that much surprise. Stefan loves this character. But then looking over at New Game Plus's lineup as Hercules is the last selection, it's a bit odder, because now you've got Athena as well. So I'm going to assume it's going to be Athena support, Kabrakan jungle, Wukong solo. That would definitely make the most sense to me. Thoth, he's going into that mid lane, but we're cutting into game right now, and the mystery is up. And it is Athena solo, Wukong jungle, Kraken port.
All right, let me just go ahead and flip my stuff on around because I had that the wrong way entirely, but that changes up the formula slightly. Prepare for rotations all day, every day by Vastricol. Having that Athena available is so helpful for everyone else on the map. Is Ethics having a bad time somewhere on the map? Is a botched gank or something? You can have the Athena Defense Force come rescue you. Is Lance Wolf and Game Hunter getting pushed in by the high push composition in the duo that Victoria's Secret has drafted? The Athena Defense Force comes and saves you.
This is, but I don't fully understand this draft because they've effectively given up pressure everywhere around the map with this one. Scotty Cabrakan should have pressure in that dual lane, but unfortunately there's an AMC on the board. So as I mentioned, AMC is pretty much going to get free lane pressure no matter what. And it's equally easy for both of these junglers to gank both of these AD carries. And so it's a bit of a strange draft coming out here from Game Plus, but I mean, there's no reason for them to pick up these characters if they hadn't proven with this, if they hadn't tried this before. I mean, Lance Wolf must be feeling pretty good on this bracket, and this is the first game in a little bit that we're going to see him playing anything other than Geb, and I'm excited because Lance Wolf's Geb play is fire. He is a damn good Geb, and I'm eager to see him perform on something other than that. But for right now, it does look as though they've managed to secure a slight clear thanks to quicker jungle buff clear. Gorgonzola and Spudio, though, they're right behind them. They're going right for those oracles.
Yeah, they want to try and nab those as quick as they can, and the Geb was banned by Victoria's Secret in the second round of P&Bs, but even with that, how good is Lance Wolf's Cabrakan, I wonder? And specifically, how good is it in the context of this game? Because Cabrakan is a heavy bruiser, but his CC, a lot of it is short range and somewhat clumsy, apart from the tremors.
Yeah, and looking primarily at the Hebo, I mean, that's going to be a lot of punishment for walking right up next to the team. Sure, Vulcan can also do a good amount of damage. And even with that Trevor, as you mentioned, there's two easy to confirm long-range knockouts for the side of Victoria's Secret. The Meatball and the Water Spout. Neither one of those are hard abilities to hit, so it's not as though it's going to be hand they hit. It's going to be, yeah, they're going to hit. So the Tremor, probably not going to get much value out of it. But then you look at the Cabrakan ultimate, and who can get out of it? Nobody. Nobody can get out of it. Nobody has any jumps on the side of Victoria's Secret. I believe Odin was taken. Yeah, Odin was taken off the board. So this is really kind of your next best bet.
Yeah. Now, with that Hubble as well being a good option for punishing, we'll see, however, duo lane, there's going to be a little bit of a skirmish. Gorgonzola and Spudio wanting to go in hard on Lance Wolf, and that's going to be a good option. If you can keep Lance Wolf just chip down constantly, not even necessarily to critical health, just to a really annoying point in his HP where he's guzzling all his consumables quickly, and he has to play a little bit risky to get those Watchers procs to heal himself back up. That puts him either A, more in risk to be killed, or B, like we're seeing here, Ethics has to come over to assist.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be kind of the story of the game. It's really the dual lanes are, I'm assuming these are going to set the paces for the match. Spudio and Gorgonzola is not the all-star duo lane that Game Hunter and Lance Wolf are going to be. These are two very experienced players. These are two players that have been around the block. Gorgonzola, he's been around the block, not in the support role though, but still, it's really going to be, to me, this is the one point of regression the New Game Plus have on the map. This is going to be, it's going to be up to Spudio and Gorgonzola to not give up too much. And it does seem as though that, as of right now, Game Hunter and Lance Wolf securing just a little bit of pressure over them, but not having the wave clear advantage still.
Yeah, going to be able to maybe make some threat known, but right now, it's been mainly a farm game. And for the most part, Victoria's Secret had the slight edge. They've been able to invade successfully. Kero ran out of mana, which forced the rotation from Vastricol. Crushing wave, going to be used by Frostiak. Some action finally happening on the right-hand side of the map. Frostiak going to be taunted in. Ethics sitting on a Nimbus Cloud. Going in will be a bit of a foolish option, so instead he moves back and helps Vastricol claim his blue buff.
Yeah, it's going to be just a kind of an engagement ult for ult, or I guess two ultimates used on the side of New Game Plus. But at the end of the day, I honestly don't think much lost, much gained on either side. Speed buff did get dropped, and it did get dropped in favor of Victoria's Secret. So it's going to be a slight win for Frostiak there. He's not going to go over and pick it up. He doesn't have to. He's got his own speed buff, and the timer will be longer on that one as well. So at the end of the day, buff for buff exchange, or buff for nothing exchange. slight win for Victoria's Secret, but it's not really going to be even the start of anything. A Wukong jungle and an Athena solo, they're sitting behind a much more aggressive Hercules and Hebo. So none of this is very surprising. This had to be something that New Game Plus game planned for. It's really going to come down to those mid-game team fights where Caro and Game Hunter can just shred through people while the front line doesn't die.
Yeah, and that front line is something which has been emphasized more and more, not necessarily even recently, for a good duration of time now. There's been a lot of compositions which will rely on either Guardian, double warrior, or double warrior, then a hell support, because that's been something that's in vogue recently. And because of that, you will see a lot of these fights get hyper-extended. And because of that, these front lines are more and more important, because yeah, the back lines are the real squishy meat of the coconut, but you gotta get rid of the outer shell first to actually get at them.
Yeah, and I mean, this is every meta is a tank meta if you try hard enough. I mean, that's the age-old adage of Smite, is looking back to even season 1 when everybody's playing assassins and whatnot, and then the side of Cognitive Red just started playing tanks, and it became a tank meta, because that's the way that Smite has historically gone, is you can make things into a tank meta. And right now, looking at the side of New Game Plus, they want to benefit off of that front line quite clearly. I mean, 2 Guardians, but one of those, I mean, again, the Kabrakan just feels kind of like the odd man out in this lineup. Is looking over everything. He's the one that pick that doesn't make sense, mostly because he's just not in a position where his aggression, I feel like his aggression won't be able to be capitalized on as much. We're really going to have to see Lance Wolf here. We've seen him play the passive god on Geb, the kind of more defensive god, and this is pretty much as much of a 180 as you can get. And he's going for the cooldown boots as well over the Traveler shoes, so going to be at a slight gold deficit to Gorgonzola if this game continues to remain neutral.
Yeah, trying to keep themselves up in the golden XP lead would be nice. Maybe Lance Wolf is instead wanting to pivot away from out-farming Victoria's Secret, because they are still behind, even with that in mind, to instead maybe try and outfight them. Instead, we'll see New Game Plus has been trying to fight off these challenges by Victoria's Secret. They're getting more confident as the game is going on, because Victoria's Secret has just been not freely stealing buffs, but they've been getting first dibs on them, at least in fights. You can see here, it's going to be a 4 versus 4 action on the right-hand side of the map. Frostiak getting turned to bottom immediately. Stefan going to use the ultimate. Julio gets taken down. Hugero with a huge snipe on a Frostiak. Lance Wolf, however, is going to fall to the combined firepower of Victoria's Secret. Too much seize to the handle. 2-1 in favor of Victoria's Secret.
That was a fantastic Vulcan ultimate that came out of Mr. Stefan, and that's probably what secured the teamfight win for Victoria's Secret. His ult just came down right on top of everyone, and it kept Frostiak alive for just a moment longer, letting him get off one more bit of the water hands. And at the end of the day, that fight goes quite heavily, honestly, in Victoria's Secret's favor, despite the fact that they lose Frostiak in that one, trading out 2 for 1, getting those 2 kills onto the solo laner, who was already ahead of Vastrical. Julio is just going to be that much harder to kill at the end of the day. And I'm excited to see this moving forward, and unfortunately, that is really something that New Game Plus did not want to have happen. This is right about the point where their team comp should be coming alive, but Stefan said no and just shattered through most of their team with that ultimate.
Left side, a little bit of an argy-bargy. Stefan and Game Hunter under the ire of both teams respectively. Stefan trapped inside the ultimate from the Kabrakan, leading to his demise. Game Hunter still somehow alive, courtesy to the permafrost and good application of juke shoes. Gorgonzola having to use the blink. Wait. He has a blink, you what? Okay, fine. So be it. That's what we're running. Blink Sobek. We're going back to season 2.
I didn't expect the blink. That was crazy.
No one expects the blink. I guess that's the point.
That was a good... So that was following up a great team fight coming out from Victoria's Secret. That was a terrible situation to just get caught out in. Stefan, Gorgonzola, and Spudio, all of them were completely by themselves within a relative short distance of each other, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. Stefan's the first one to pay the iron price as Lance Wolf's walls just catch him out, and that is what you're seeing here. That's what Lance Wolf is going to be looking for every single time, is to just catch out any of these squishy characters with those walls. And you see it pay off pretty big there. And for all intents and purposes, Gorgonzola should be dead, but he built Blink. And he's
going Relic Dagger too. So he's doubling down on the Blink.
Okay, I mean, I honestly like the Relic Dagger quite a lot. I understand why it's not picked up more, but taking off 30 seconds from the cooldown, plus some pretty decent stats in general, those relics being up more frequently is always good. Right? If you can get a team fight relic up and start a team fight sooner, then you're in for a good time. Gorgonzola, not really a team fight relic, but the blink is going to be allow this Sobek to be that much more aggressive. So I'm interested to see what Gorgonzola is going to do here, because this is just, I don't know who he's going to try and go that aggressive on. I guess Game Hunter is really the only good target that he's got.
Yeah, and that blink style may work. The blink is what, however, actually, we're going to see Game Hunter go down to Spudio, not a solo, because Gorgonzola was helping out, but he will end up dying nonetheless. Having your Skadi drop early on is not good, especially when they're trying to build a Transcendence. And now, Gorgonzola going in 1 versus 3. Curious.
Yeah, Gorgonzola seems to be that he's going to play the role of the aggressive Sobek this game. Not too surprising, honestly, but just constantly standing in the face of the enemy. Victoria's Secret, great Gold Fury play. Huge ultimate comes out. It's going to claim the life of Spudio first. Vasterkal getting credit.
Vasterkal will get the kill. Huge ult from Kero, though. Don't discount that. That was heavy damage being applied. Although Frostat was also able to use the Crushing Wave, both of those ultimate combined, along with the rest of the chaos happening there, result in both teams being a little bit too wounded to really go for seconds.
Unfortunately, though, the first meal goes vastly in favor of Victoria's Secret. They're going to find that Gold Fury, and looking at the graphs, they've been slowly working on it, but now they've blown the game open. 3,000 gold, 4,000 experience, a nice lead coming out here initially for the side of Victoria's Secret's Gorgonzola getting pressed on a little bit. But I do want to talk about that ultimate from Kero. That was a good ultimate. Would have stolen the Gold Fury, ultimately results in Spudio's death, and this is just kind of... This is a Kero that I haven't seen before, where he was originally booted off this team because he couldn't play characters like this Thoth. He just never looked comfortable, never was able to get those big ults. And so far this game, his ultimates have both been very, very good. Not shooting off a lot of them, but shooting off enough to really kind of make his presence known to Victoria's Secret. The later this game goes, the more and more important Kero is going to be to the success of New Game Plus.
Yeah, and what the hell? Those snipes are going to be very important as well for shaving off big parts of HP from Frostyak and Stefan, making them more hesitant to use their ultimates, and also, it's especially important in the case of Stefan because he's going Doomorph. So if you can pressure him in fights, either A, you're going to get a good kill on him and get rid of the Doomorph. We can see, although mid lane, Frostyak looking to send in the Red Cavalry. Julio with a great use of the Earthbreaker, going to pull in the Kabrak, and it will be his doom. Frostyak and Stefan teaming up for heavy amounts of burst damage will wipe the support off of the map.
Yeah, displacement is good, but what's even better is the Portal Demon, which Victoria's Secret managed to sneak out, and Gorgonzola played enough of a distraction as Julio jumping onto the backside of the team fight, but now he's being collapsed on by everybody. This might be more than he bargained for, as the shot comes out from Kero, going to do huge damage to start off this team fight, but it looks as though everybody from Victoria's Secret can run away.
Again, Kero, big damage numbers, shredding enough HP for Victoria's Secret to be a little bit alarmed by that. Victoria's Secret is getting very aggressive, at least in posture in these fights, and often in their engagements too, so with that threat looming over their heads, they know that they have to respect New Game Plus a little bit harder. Left-hand side, though, Game Hunter in a little bit of a sticky wicket, has to run as fast as he can, Permafrost, but the bees actually end up killing Game Hunter. The bees that were applied from the Stinger.
Wow, that is... You're not going to see those kills often. Not only
That's the BM death.
Not only because people don't pick AMC often, but just because the bees kill people once in a blue moon. And right there, I guess it was that time of year for the Game Hunter, as he's going to drop the bees. He might have been out of there too if it wasn't for those bees. But again, I just want to bring up the player damage numbers right now. Kero sitting at 6,800, and mid laners at this point of the game, this is not a role that you see kind of the fake damage, right? Of the solo lane where they just kind of slap each other over and over again. It's, oh wow, they have 15k damage and 14k of it's been mitigated. But Kero, he's getting off a lot of effective damage right now, and this is going to be where I'm going to assume Victoria's Secret is going to start turning their heads to. They're going to want to pick off Kero before they can pick off anybody else. Because Game Hunter, not that big of a damage threat yet. Once he finishes up this mace, could be honestly any of the items in that mace tree. That's going to be when he starts to swing in these team fights. But for right now, Game Hunter not going to be that big of a threat. They're all going to keep their eyes on Kero. And fortunately for Kero, his character can deal that kind of damage at a very, very safe and comfortable distance.
Now, Kero has been the anchor point for New Game Plus's mid, but Victoria's Secret, however, I mainly be relying on instead pulling Lancewolf into the ultimate attempt for Stefan. It's going to whiff, unfortunately. Lancewolf had a little bit too fast movement to get out of there because of the one, of course, boosting movement speed ever so slightly. But as we were saying before that kind of weird slapping match happened, the anchor point for Victoria's Secret's mid, I think, Sinks, has been the combination of both Stefan and Frostiak. Time and time again, they've been setting up each other's big mage abilities.
Yeah, and it's kind of a tale of two very different stories for Frostiak and Stefan. Frostiak was a player that was in the SPL. He was hit or miss, and a lot of people were like, why is this guy still in the SPL? Until one day he wasn't, and he got dropped out of the SPL as Gorgonzola. Going to take a lot of damage, actually. Kero looking for the ultimate here, but nothing should come of this other than maybe a Frostiak kill. The ultimate good enough. Lancewolf gets shredded.
Lancewolf is going to fall there to the 1-2 punch of Frostiak in the jungle, Stefan. Half HP, has to use the beats, taunt it back in. Permafrost, simply too much damage to deal with. Ethic's going to pick up the blood there onto the Vulcan. Meanwhile, Kero, Aegis trying to avoid Julio's wrath. Going to be disarmed because of the B procs. Luckily, though, Vastricol going to play frontliner to him, be able to keep him nice and safe. Frostiak staying in the pocket possibly too long. If Game Hunter's there, the snipe will miss very unfortunately. Kero tried to hit him inside the Glyph of Pain, but simply too narrow window to do it. Frostiak, however, still somehow alive.
Frostiak's gonna keep juking out. Kero finally gets him, but Efix trades out his life for it. Julio finds him as well, and Julio is just pushing forward relentlessly. The slow from Game Hunter will keep him out, but Frostiak puts on the juke boost and manages to make it so that they have to trade out one more to kill him.
That was a bit of a wonky fight, and that comes down to, in my opinion, Frostiak overstaying his welcome. After he popped his big combo, after he got a little bit of poke off on the end, just leave. Don't stay there for too long. The rest of the Victoria's Secret wasn't immediately on top of him to assist. They were a bit apprehensive. And that is a situation where that kind of thing happens, where New Game Plus see what's going on, one person floats a little bit too far upstream, and then suddenly you've got them on the fishing line and everyone else is going to come try and save them. And then that entire fight happens on the right-hand side of the mid-camp.
But that's the nature of Hebo. Hebo has to be very close to do his damage. He has to be right up in the fray of things. And the ultimate is his only real escape ability. The water carpet's cool and all. It's actually right now Spudio's trying to solo out this Gold Fury. Efix knows though, smells it out, and Efix should be able to get out of here. Gonna burn his ultimate instantly rather than trying to just Ox form out of there, but weird decision coming out for him right now. As actually Lancewolf, he's the one who finds himself in trouble. He's surrounded by every member of Victoria's Secret.
We see now Lancewolf, incoming nuclear strike detected. Stefan with effective damage. Frostiak using his own ultimate to kill off Vastricol. Lancewolf hopped over the top, courtesy of Julio Airlines. Spudio able to get the kill credit, though, in the process. That's going to be a 2-4-0 trade. Victoria's Secret surging ahead. Their next target's going to be the Gold Fury, and this is probably going to be going without any resistance.
No, there's no way that they can contest, and right now what we're seeing is that New Game Plus is hanging around too long, going too deep to try and get kills. Well, every time Victoria's Secret ends up being too deep, it's because they got a kill. And right now, this game is going vastly in favor of Victoria's Secret. Swapping over the grass again, once a humble lead, 6,500 experience, 6,500 gold. Victoria's Secret sitting very decisively above their opponents right now, and continuing to look like that #1 team despite not having quite the same caliber of game as last week. And that's how I will finish up putting it as the Portal Demon getting started up here as well by Victoria's Secret, and Efix the only one around who could possibly contest it, but his damage is going to be really nothing against the two members, but Vastricol pokes his head in. That seems to be good enough to disengage this fight for now.
Ethix was in a somewhat okay position to contest, but it was still a very risky venture. Even with the bonus damage from the Magic Cudgel, that's still going to be a very narrow window to actually steal and get out successfully. You have to just tip hit the Portal Demon with the Jingu Bang, and then somehow still get out without having to blow your bird, because that would immediately get hit. Spudio, however, in the duo lane while we've been talking, took a ton of damage from Game Hunter. That was almost ends up being a solo kill. Luckily, because of the hives, he has what is nature's version of Scooty Booties? I'm not quite sure what to call them, but either way, he's very fast movement speed from the hives.
Yeah, I mean, Spudio's going to be able to run out of there, but Game Hunter very close to that solo kill. That would have been such a good thing for the side of New Game Plus as well. Not even necessarily as by the numbers, but just morally, Efix. The numbers are telling me that he is at half health right now, thanks to just a very, very quick pluck and some damage coming out Frostiak and Stefan can chunk somebody down in just a matter of moments. And looking over Efix's build, he's got the Genji's guard, but other than that, no real defense being picked up on him. So he's right now relying on levels and also starting up with that mace, looking for a little bit more damage. Honestly, feel as though Efix should just go for more tankiness, should try and be another frontliner for his team. Caro and Game Hunter are going to do a plenty fine job of doing damage, as Victoria's Secret are right now. They're just going to take the Portal Demon instantly.
Yeah, and now it's going to be the counter-attack onto New Game Plus, who tried to start suing, but it's going to be Victoria's Secret who are threatening to finish it. Stefan's ultimate almost hit, but the pick unfortunately put it backwards, but that pick's going to be successful. Lancewolf getting pulled right into the arms of Victoria's Secret with nowhere to go. Spodeo can simply auto-attack that down nice and quickly, and because of the amount of fighting that's been going on, Victoria's Secret has got 3 hides, and they're already getting stacks on them.
Yeah, right now the hide of the
4 hides!
Yeah, they've got 4 hides of the Urchin. The Mage is picking them up as just a very cost-effective defensive item. Game Hunter, he's trying to get some cost-effective gold thanks to the towers, but right now Victoria's Secret, they've got 4 pushing down 1. Caro and Efix, nothing that they can do just but watch it drop. And unfortunately for Game Hunter, Gorgonzola is enough to stall his push. As Vastrigal also trying to split push down a tower, but you're in Athena, dude. This is not going to go over that quickly for him. And Game Hunter looks as though he's going to pay the iron price for taking that tier 1 tower. Is Julio going to drop him in just a matter of moments?
But look at Frostiak, he's going spelunkying. Rather, actually, he's having to run away from the Spelunky members, and New Game Plus going into his jungle. Frostiak's been caught out by an invading force of Order-side gods. Efix, however, picks up the kill credit, and they're going to grab the tier 1 tower in the solo lane, courtesy of the Winions.
Yeah, that's just Frostiak not understanding his position versus everybody else's. 4 people rotated over to kill Game Hunter, and then he went in 1 versus 3, not fully realizing that his team couldn't be there to help him. Plus, he ran out of mana. A mistake for Frostiak, but realistically, a mistake that doesn't cost them much because most of their deaths have been going on to both of these mages. They're not the priority targets at this point. You're going to get much more if you can kill Julio or if you can kill Spudio at this point. The side lanes are where the big golden experience wins are. And the mages right now, they are not worth as much. But if you can kill Stefan, he still has that Doom Orb. You still have the win of slashing those Doom Orb stacks in half. And that's going to be a big help for New Game Plus if they can kill him and keep him down.
Now, New Game Plus, unfortunately for them, at 22 minutes in, sitting down almost half the kills of Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret just 1 shy of the 12. And the more compromising number, in my opinion, is going to be the golden experience. 7.6k experience and 8.3k gold. Not a good look for New Game Plus because they were counting on a composition that would accelerate into the late game, and right now Victoria's Secret is just holding them down in the mid game for as long as they want while bringing their own late game carries all the way up.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as though I said that kind of mid to late game point was where New Game Plus would start looking to win fights. Is actually a fight being started up right now on the Gold Fury side of things, but it seems as though it's just going to be kind of some slapboxing coming out between the ADCs. But Spudio, he really wants this one, chasing Game Hunter down, able to do a lot of damage, smartly pulling back though as the front line's being started up with Vastrical taunting in too.
Now, however, New Game Plus's Caro again got some good damage off Frostiak. Gonna have to sit and think about his wounds, possibly go back to base here. There is no Portal Demon available, so no one can immediately teleport in and just cut left. So Victoria's Secret decide, all right, we've had our fun. We had a little bit of a punching fight with you. We're just gonna leave now. Go pick up our camps. It's gonna be for the best because Victoria's Secret at this point do not want to give New Game Plus the tools to defeat them with. Julio, he can take some punishment, but they really don't want Frostiak, Stefan, or especially Spudio to get caught out unnecessarily.
Notably right now, Julio, there's only 1 anti-heal item, and it's on the Brawler's Beatstick from the Wukong, so he's not going to be too worried. If Spudio and Frostiak, though, they are taking down this Gold Fury, and it is done. Victoria's Secret can claim that one. A huge ultimate coming out right now from Stefan, and it's going to chunk down 3 members. All the frontliners just get dropped low.
And now it's going to be Julio considering his next option. Does he go in or does he instead? No, it's going to be Frostiak going in, killing off Kero. Going to use the ultimate to successfully grab that. Efix and Vastricol are simply too far apart to really help. Vastricol does have Defender of Olympus, but he's being attacked, so there's no safe time to really challenge without risking his own life. So now it's going to be a bit of a rabbit chase on two ends of the map. On the bottom end, Frostiak will die to Game Hunter's auto attacks. Julio wasn't able to protect him in time. On the top side, Efix is being chased, but he's still alive because it's a Sun Wukong. He's so bloody evasive. And now Julio's actually going to have the tables turned on him. He's having to retreat under the effects of Mitigate Wounds to keep himself alive here.
Ooh, and Efix just barely going to duck out of there, just missing that push coming out from the side of Julio. But Game Hunter, he could be the one paying for his jungler's sins, as the two tanks have jived on top of him, and Game Hunter already dropped down low. The boulder not going to connect, and Gorgonzola also not going to hit the pluck, so both going to get to hold on to their lives. And an extended odd engagement to Gold Fury plus 2 kills go in favor of Victoria's Secret, but New Game Plus, they answer back with 2 of their own.
Well, for those of you who are a little bit sad that this was a farm fest early on, well, we just had basically a 5-minute fight continuously. I was expecting Victoria's Secret Sinks to just kind of peel away from the Gold Fury, maybe keep one person there as sentry to just threaten a steal. But no, they stay there and keep going, and it works out for them too. Why is that?
I mean, right now, looking at AMC, he's got the fully stacked Devo's Gauntlets. He's got some more lifesteal on its way. Bloodforge, it will be the Bloodforge once it's all finished up. But for right now, it's just tier 2 Gauntlet. And they also have Frostiak. So at this point, the only one that can out-secure Frostiak on the side of New Game Plus is actually hold that thought. Frostiak, he's going to secure the life of Efix, as he's just going to get dropped in Lance Wolf. He's going to get plucked into danger, pushed back into the Fire Giant pit, and he's going to have to use the walls just to try and run away.
Ultimate from Stefan, unfortunately, for about the 4th time this game, is going to whiff and hit absolutely no one. Lance Walt going to try and juke and jive as much as he can, but there's simply too many people there to really effectively evade. He's going to fall to Gorgonzola. Kero going to be under threat from Spudio. Spudio going to try and use as much abilities as he can. Going to juke the Hercules border from Julio, but Vastical with the saving taunt, giving Kero room to maneuver. Kero still has the final judgment available if he wants to fire it and give Vastical some assistance, but now it's going to be Game Hunter moving in as well to try and bail out his Athena.
Yeah, but Vastrical, he's going to fall. Nowhere for him to go. Game Hunter, he might have put himself in a bad situation there, but has the beads available, so he's going to pop those to get away from Julio. All the meanwhile, though, Spudio and Frostiak, repeat of the Gold Fury. You just need 2 to do this Fire Giant, and it does appear as though it is going to fall. Victoria's Secret, they're going to claim another objective. They haven't dropped a major map objective this game. They've gotten every Gold Fury, they've gotten every Portal Demon, and now they've gotten every Fire Giant up to this point. It is tough to win a game when you're losing out on everything, and with the Fire Giant, with 12,000 gold, with 11,000 experience, and with a blink in from Frank that rips through Kero, Victoria's Secret, they're looking to close this one out.
Now, you remember earlier on in the cast where you were talking about how Hubwa can have difficulties with close range, and I kind of sort of went slightly to myself? That's why. Frostiak has a severe knack, blink notwithstanding, has a severe knack of predicting people's movements, using the water spout to bring them to him involuntarily, involuntary for their own will, he actually means for it, and then using either the ultimate or the water cannon. Frostiak can reach out and touch you with Hubwa from a surprisingly long distance.
Yeah, that water spout has a huge range, and usually Hebos won't be sitting back and kind of using them at that max distance. Frostiak, to be fair to him, he wasn't. He was actually, he went ahead and blinked in, and Lance Wolf, he got thrown in by everything. Spudio just tears him down. The support doesn't feel tanky at all right now, and that's partially because of his build. Looking at his build, he doesn't have that many protections in New Game Plus. They're down a frontliner, and they might be down their mid laner right now as well. Yes, Gorgonzola finishes off Kero. The right side, Phoenix taken down as well. But with 2 towers up, I don't think that Victoria's Secret can make a Titan push right now.
Victoria's Secret had such a strong draft going into this, between heavy backline poke, strong, continuous DR-resistant CC in the form of tons of knockups between Hubwa, Hercules, and Sobek, and then, of course, the obligatory tons of damage and a lot of health to back that up, too. Victoria's Secret just had almost every single box ticked, really, out. And New Game Plus, however, there was something you were just kind of thinking to yourself, I remember. You were talking about there was not too much pressure for New Game Plus, and that might have affected them heavily, because, of course, we're talking about how Kero and Game Hunter have been getting kills here or there, but it feels like the front line for New Game Plus has just been crumbling consistently.
Yeah, and I mean, notably, I did mention the pressure. They kind of didn't draft pressure anywhere. It didn't end up hurting them too badly at the end of the day. As a whole, that thought, actually, Vashkal is going to try and go in. Not going to be able to secure anything, though. Efix, he's jumping in as well, and he's just getting blown up. Spudio makes him pay as he's going to fall. And now looking over New Game Plus, they're going to have a hard time defending this space, as once again, they're being tasked with it in a 4v5.
Bastrakol, he is the tankiest member on the team. He's also now the deadest member of the team outside of Ethics. He's going to be taking all of his HP off of the board immediately. Victoria's Secret simply have too much damage. On top of that, they have a lot of protection too. They almost have every single member on the team with Hide of the Urchins, and the people who do have them almost have them fully stacked outside of one person. Victoria's Secret now, they're starting to lose a little bit of respect for New Game Plus, and that's going to end up Gorgonzola overstaying his welcome and dying, but, I mean, you can give them some reasoning as to why Victoria's Secret is up 21 kills to 8 at 30 minutes in.
That was a Frezzy play. That was a, I'm beating you, and I'm going to make sure you feel it. And unfortunately, actually, right now, Gorgonzola is actually worth a fair bit of gold. That was his first death of the game, but, I mean, almost 20,000 gold up. That's not going to make a dent in anything right now. Soul Reaver, the last item for your support Sobek. But still, even at that, the support Sobek looking just a little bit tankier than this support Kabrakan, who Lance Wolf, we've seen him play the Geb. We've seen him play the Geb at an incredibly high level. This isn't doing it. The Kabrakan isn't doing it. 0, 8, and 3. He just hasn't had a good game. He's never been able to set up what I'm assuming he wanted to. And you mentioned that short-range CC. You mentioned short-range CC, yes. The short-range damage from Frostiak. The short-range damage coming out from Spudio. It's not that hard to hit a Kabrakan running in a straight line at you. The damage coming out from Stefan just in general. Displacement from Julio and Gorgonzola. This Kabrakan pick just was a bad pick at the end of the day, and they need to go back to the drawing board with this one, because very, very clearly New Game Plus, I think that it might be the final curtain call for them once this Fire Giant spawns and Victoria's Secret take it down.
Yeah, and not only that is it easy to hit a giant target running towards you to hit his CC, there's so much effective CC against the Kabrakan too, between knockups that can disorient, slows once he has to burn his 1, and also the cripples too. The cripple from Spudio can stop him from getting any sort of real momentum up because he can't pop his 1, I believe. So with that in mind, Victoria's Secret could just simply start playing Gallagher with them, throwing stupid amounts of bullets down range that New Game Plus have to dodge to even get in on them. And because of that, New Game Plus have to turtle now because they know they can't get aggressive. And Victoria's Secret just have full run of the entire map at this point, bar the base, and they're about to make a play on that.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I don't think that the base is going to be enough to keep New Game Plus safe. One, Phoenix has spawned in, and Vashkal going in, trying to defend it. The ultimate getting dropped from Stefan, as they're looking to do what they can. The Phoenix, it is definitely going to fall here, as it does, going towards that mid lane right now. And Efix, the Stinger doesn't connect onto him. So no, the Stinger does connect onto him. So Efix, he's the next one in trouble, and served up for Spudio. Efix is going to be the first one to fall. And in the 5v4 situation, this could be the moment Victoria's Secret needs to end it.
Yeah, Victoria's Secret need to get the W here. This is best of 2, so New Game Plus could still try and hold this to a 1-1 draw. But Victoria's Secret, if they keep playing like this is looking like one of the bigger uphill struggles that New Game Plus has had to face so far this split in CC.
I mean, last week, Victoria's Secret looked like the #1 team, but I didn't know whether or not they looked like the #1 team because Novasaurus looked like the #4 team. So I said, you know what? Let's just forget this happened, throw it away. We'll see how they do next week, where they face New Game Plus, who is, I think without a doubt in anyone else's mind, the pick for either #1 or #2 in this split of Challenger Circuit. Victoria's Secret, I can say, look like the #1 team this week. They really, really showed New Game Plus kind of what for, drafting a better team composition than them, and honestly playing better. You mentioned that Stefan had some misses. Stefan hit more ultimates than he missed at the end of the day. really only missing a
Fair.
couple of them. And sometimes that was because, I mean, there's a lot of displacement on Victoria's Secret. Gorgonzola and Julio kind of sometimes pulled people out of his ultimates, but at the end of the day, 20k damage for him, 24k for Spudio, and 18k for Frostiak. The damage being spread out pretty nicely between all of them. Meanwhile, 25k and 21k on the side of New Game Plus. Nobody else even reached 11,000
You want to
on New
know?
Game Plus.
I think I probably have an apology for Mr. Stefan to issue, because the reason why I was thinking he had so many missed ults, because I was still feeling the effects of Flippo's performance from last week, where he was doing stupid stuff with Vulcan. So I've been putting all the Vulcans to that bar, but you may not even necessarily need to do that. You just need to land consistent damage constantly, and that's what Stefan did. He's at 20,000 now. So in the end, that's going to make things 1-0 to Victoria's Secret, but of course, we still have one more match in this set, so we'll have that thrown up on stream as soon as we can. Ladies and gents, please don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. Pleasure to have you all here. Time for the first final game of this set. It's going to be Victoria's Secret versus New Game Plus. First final game. My brain is really smart today for some reason, but this is going to be the final game of the set. There we go. My brain's actually on form. It's going to be New Game Plus 1-0 down against Victoria's Secret, and to put it in a polite way, Victoria's Secret did horrible things to New Game Plus that game, Zinx.
I think New Game Plus did horrible things with their draft. I think is really where you got to start looking for New Game Plus, and what better place to fix it than right here back in the picks and ban phase. They just got to go in and they got to just completely scratch what they've done. And Odin ban they did before, but Scotty ban is new. Ardio and Camazotz also taken off the board. Curious about the Camazotz ban, honestly, coming out from Victoria's Secret. Don't know who they're banning that away from. And instantly, first pick of Terra, surprisingly enough. Geb is on the table, but I guess New Game Plus is going to value that Terra going out onto their support just a little bit more.
Yeah, trying to keep Lance Wolf in control of that. Maybe he's going to be a lot more comfortable on a much more conventional support, or at least one that has a lot more power. Again, the Hubwa pick, Frostiak and Victoria's Secret really being in favor of this Hubwa jungling. We've been seeing the rise of it, especially, and the AMC. I'm not sure if this is a comfort thing for Victoria's Secret, or if this is just sheer disrespect after that last game, that they feel like they can run this back.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. At the end of the day, Victoria's Secret looked dominant, so why mix things up? But New Game Plus, they need to mix things up, and a Fenrir pick for more than likely the jungle going to go toe-to-toe with Frostiak's Hebo. Interesting enough, because Fenrir has been seen as the counter pick to Hebo for a very long time, so they're just going to go pretty much just straight up for that counter pick matchup here. New Game Plus put in a little bit more time to think about their next pick here. It's going to be the Vulcan. They're going to just take that away from Stefan. They do not want Victoria's Secret to be able to have that full 5-man run back. And the last time around in this position, they did draft the Sobek, but instead it's going to be the Geb. So going to look for a little bit less aggression, a little bit more defensive positioning coming out from Gorgonzola. And already in week 1, they're going to have him flex his God pool just a little bit. Playing 2 different gods, I mean, you can only play 2 different gods per week, but 2 very different gods as well. One the passive Geb, one the aggressive Sobek. Gonna be interested to see how well Gorgonzola can do this time around.
It's different with a capital D, that kind of thing. Gorgonzola has played the Geb in the past, and we have seen him do some stupidly good things with the shield. We've seen him save Stefan from situations where he dove too far and was justifiably dead, and we'd wrote him off. Gorgonzola still somehow managed to bail him out. And with an Isis pickup now, I assume for Mr. Stefan, this is going to be a lot of painful early game for New Game Plus, because Spirit Ball into Hardware abilities, or Water Spout into any of the Isis abilities is going to do probably about 3/4 of your HP bar.
I don't like the Isis selection, but moving over Vamana and Ull going to be the next 2 pickups. Side lanes complete for New Game Plus. Game Hunter getting one of his favorite characters in that Ull, and Vamana also being selected here for Faster Cal, a very good and safe solo laner. He's going to be taking it toe-to-toe with Julio's Erlong, though. Because Julio, Julio likes to play aggressive in that solo lane, and Erlong's going to let him do so. Draft's complete, New Game Plus, a much better draft this time around. Victoria's Secret, I would honestly say that I like their draft a little bit less this time around, but we're going into game here and looking at them. Yeah, everybody's where they should be. There's no jank this time around. Nope. Spudio actually going to be dove on instantaneously. Efix, he's going to grab him with the Brutalize, and the 5-man First Blood coming out for New Game Plus. That was just that. I feel like that was frustration more than anything else. I feel like that's frustration more than anything else. I'm going, you know what? We're just going to kill somebody right off the bat.
It's the First Blood where you don't have some kind of 3-point strategic plan afterwards. That's the First Blood where you say, alright, we got him, yeah! Alright, let's go back to lanes. It's the morale increase more than the golden experience increase, and sometimes that could be equally as valuable considering the game that New Game Plus just played. They will definitely be welcoming a little bit of a cheer up.
Yeah, and I mean, that's also, you mentioned the morale boost rather than golden experience. 5-man splitting your First Blood at level 1, that means almost nothing in terms of golden experience games. So it has to kind of be that moral victory here. And I mean, honestly, not the worst situation in the world. So you get it on the Spuddy, you delay him potentially getting back to lane in time. But unfortunately, it does look as though that the combined efforts of Gorgonzola and Spudio will be able to outclear for now the side of Ull and Terra. And again, pressure just not being picked up here by New Game Plus. They're not going to have that really anywhere except potentially the solo lane. In theory, this AMC should be able to outduel both of them. As Ull going in for the axe play onto Gorgonzola. Going to do a good amount of damage. Gorgonzola, he's actually got the beats to start here, and he pops them preemptively. Walls don't come down, but he's just barely going to live this one through.
Yeah, just somehow having enough HP to live through the bluestone ticks applied by Game Hunter. How he didn't die to Lance Wolf popping the walls onto him, or why he didn't even pop the walls in the first place. I don't know, but there's the walls actually going to be used there. The knock-up attempt by Gorgonzola, but unfortunately, he only just got to level 2, and he didn't get the shield. He got the rollout instead, so Gorgonzola was physically incapable of stopping that second blood.
That was a nice recognition coming out from Game Hunter, who is just giving it to the side of Victoria's Secret right now. Okay, Game Hunter is frustrated after that last game of really never being able to get online, do what he's got to do on Scotty. Says, you know what? I'm going to pick a character who just needs to hit his axis, and I'm going to kill people. And that's what he is doing early on in this game. He's just hitting every single axe that he throws, making life very miserable for the side of Gorgonzola and Spudio. And again, Spudio's beads were down from that early first blood. Good recognition from Game Hunter, and I wouldn't be surprised if they keep looking for Gorgonzola on that Geb, who backs the base and picks up the Swiftwing, actually. So Gorgonzola, he's up to his 3rd starter item now. I don't think we're going to be seeing any of the Frostiac shenanigans from last week, where he had 5 starter items. But I do think that this is just kind of a temporary fix to the problem that he's been having. He recognizes that Game Hunter is just going to mercilessly poke them out. So he's going to go ahead and grab that Swiftwing to be prepared for the scenario where he has to just constantly go back to base.
You know what item I think probably could have been picked up instead of the Swiftwing? Mark of the Vanguard. That would help you get around the Bluestone Tick's left side. Ethic's going to dive in, going to use the Ragnarok, put Gorgonzola in a very bad spot that he really doesn't want to be in, but he gets the kill onto Ethic's anyway! He gets the kill. Spudio set him off with more than enough damage. Spudio now body blocking for the support instead. Bit of a roll swap to this paradigm. Spudio able to save Gorgonzola, and Gorgonzola somehow goes from the jaws of death itself to getting a kill and getting out.
I don't have much of it. Okay, so AMC hurts. That is really your big takeaway from there, as Spudio just kills him pretty much. I mean, the credit goes to Gorgonzola, but FX did not get far enough away from Spudio in that one. Stayed within basic range of Spudio, and Spudio could just sit there and just hit him over and over and over again. So by the time he dropped Gorgonzola, Gorgonzola was able to just turn around and hit him with that knockup. So just unfortunate position coming up from FX. And this is the first game we've seen FX play something different. We've seen him on the Wukong last week. We saw him on the Wukong game 1. Game 2, we're going to have to see how he can perform on the Fenrir, but so far, not showing quite the same understanding as he did on the Wukong. Just, you need to get further away, because being up in that big dog form, you're still vulnerable. And I think Spudio and Gorgonzola just exploited that perfectly.
But now, New Game Plus's attention is going to be turning to possibly the right-hand side of the map instead. They've been putting a lot of aggression on the left, but now we're going to see FX and Vastricol going at it against Julio and Frostiak. Frostiak chasing the big baby in. Vastricol, luckily, because of the big baby form, has more than enough HP regeneration to just keep himself alive just after the crushing wave was used. He is barely thanking his stars because of that.
And the Terror Ultimate as well to keep Vastricol as topped off as he can be, but Julio and Frostiak do not want to let this one go. Unfortunately, they have to. Full minion wave there, there's nothing for them to really do. Something else I want to throw out there. I mentioned I don't really like the Isis because every time I see Isis pick, I say the same thing, she just dies. The gimmick of I have a lot of CC and I don't do as much damage towards the later stages of the game is really just doesn't work out for those mages. Just a ton of early pressure, but unfortunately it's just the later this game goes, the harder it's going to be for her. But she's really investing into kind of this early game pressure because she's got the do more picked up. And I honestly really don't, I understand that's kind of Stefan's thing. Stefan always picks up the do more because that's just what Stefan does. But I think on Isis, this could be something that Side of New Game Plus need to look to exploit. Because again, Isis, one of the easier to kill characters in the game.
Easier to kill with an asterisk. When you blindside the Isis, if the Isis, like we're seeing here, has enough wards between the enemy sides of the jungle and then far on your back stuff to avoid any kind of weird flank around the side shenanigans, that is going to be a somewhat easy kill. But with those stuff up, or even just cooldowns, Stefan will have more than enough eyes around him to keep himself nice and safe and be able to use the Dispel, be able to use the Spirit Ball. Left side, Gorgonzola tries to chase down, got a little bit too aggressive. Cataclysm going to use Stinger as well by Spudio to follow up, just for some friendly damage. But unfortunately, Gorgonzola got the worst end of the deal, losing almost 2/3 of his HP.
Yeah, and right now, both members of New Game Plus sitting healthier than both members of Victoria's Secret, but it shouldn't amount to anything. And as well, also something else to know is that New Game Plus haven't looked to go aggressive in the mid lane. They've only really looked to go aggressive in the duo lane, which is, granted, in theory, where they have the advantage, but still, I mean, just the character, just the nature of that ISIS, they should be looking to dive in. But Stefan's currently been just kind of swapping off who he's holding hands with as well. Frostiak not leaving his side up to this point. And that seems to be enough to scare New Game Plus, but they're going to have to shake off their fear eventually if they want to find a good point to exploit in this map. Because ever since that failed gank in the duo lane, they've stopped looking for the aggression in the duo lane. And you have to gain something off of your advantage. So you have to gain something really just kind of in general in Smite game, because you need to gain in order to win the game. And right now, Victoria's Secret, they seem to be the only ones looking to go aggressive as Gorgonzola rolls out into the jungle.
We're going to see, unfortunately for Kero, having one leg made of metal means you can't really run very fast. He's going to go down to a 4-on-1 engagement. Even with Terra's Blessing being used by Lance Wolf to try and speed him up, he's still going to end up going down. New Game Plus, however, going to try and stop their blue buff being taken. Efix going hard, trying to kill off Julio, but Frosted using his own ultimate, putting Efix within critical range, and one water cannon to the back of his head will drop him. 2 for 0, reads the trade.
That was a terrible ultimate from Efix, where he picks up one person, his teammate is on full retreat, and he just kind of picks up the person not doing a bunch of damage. He picks up Julio and starts to carry him away, but Frostiak is just sitting there pumping out damage into him. Again, another ultimate from Efix where he just kind of doesn't show awareness as to where the rest of the team is situated. And now, because of that, the tier 1 tower is going to drop in favor of Victoria's Secret. There's nothing that Vastrikov can really do here. Now, they're going to back off because they know that Kero and Lance Wolf are both rotating, so they're going to play it safe rather than playing it sorry. And to Kero's death as well, you mentioned Frostiak's ability to knock up. That time, Frostiak knocked him up directly into the center of the pin from Julio. So a nice play coming out from Frostiak again with that, with his little water cannon that he's got, or I guess not water cannon, water spout that he's got there.
Yeah, water cannon and water spout, it's easy to get them mixed up because they're basically just 2 extra ultimates, the way Frostiak has been using them. And you've got to take into consideration, Frostiak has been playing eccentrically well, but he's also had really good setup from his team, whether it's the ward coverage giving him intelligence to then use to smartly move around, Gorgonzola bailing him out of some situations or setting up, or Julio setting up as well. Let's not forget Julio. Julio has been holding his own and then some throughout these games.
Yeah, game number 1, it was a dominant performance from him, as Lance Wolf right now actually could be caught out entirely by himself. No, should be able to make it out of there thanks to that double dashes. But game number 1, Julio did more than just hold his own. He got vastly far ahead of Vastrikal.
Look at Duo.
Game number 1 as well as actually, yeah, you're right, in Duo. The
Game Hunter wants blood. He was sat by that tower for a good 15 seconds trying to hit Spudio.
I mean, that's what you got to do. Playing that Wool, honestly, you just have to look for those kinds of plays. And Game Hunter's very good at looking for those kinds of plays. He's even gotten quite a few of them this game, but unfortunately, ever since that 1 minute mark, honestly, it just hasn't resulted in anything that they can really work with as a unit. But I trust in Game Hunter more than, at this point, New Game Plus have to be looking to Game Hunter. Because Kero's sitting behind on this Vulcan. I mean, everybody's sitting behind, really. I mean, FX, 2 levels down. Kero, 2 levels down. Vastrikal and Julio, they aren't even here, but yeah, those 2 are sitting at even, but then a 1 level advantage in the support role. And then even again in that dual lane, but Game Hunter, he's the one that can go aggressive. He's the one that can start to find something off of it. And unfortunately, that deficit just going to get worse as a speed buff invade happens on that right side.
Lance Wolf going to be under the effects of Ice's ultimate, but even multiple ultimates being used, no one ends up really dying. Both teams simply have too much survivability or relics to be used to get out of those situations. But that won't result in the end of the fight just yet. Julio and Game Hunter are both rotating around from their respective lanes. Game Hunter going to be maybe thinking about something, but between the knock-up and the stun, those hopes are really just going to get dashed.
Yeah, Game Hunter not able to push forward at all, especially now Spudio has made the rotation in as well. Frostiak sitting just around the side of the map. Kero going for the play, but he couldn't quite have enough damage. Lance Wolf as well, he's sitting in trouble. Julio has made the rotation as well. The Terror ultimate just barely good enough to get 1 away, but Kero, he might not be so lucky. He will be. He's just barely going to make it out. The ultimate for Frostiak doesn't connect, and now Vastrikal's going to bat his way through the front line, but he's being chunked through right now as Julio will not give up the fight.
There we go. There's the power of Erlang Shen, who's able to nice and safely farm for a little bit. That kind of nice, quiet farming time allows you to dive the manas who are ulting and able to take them out. And now you can see Game Hunter getting dove on as well. Could the bees kill him again? The bees claim a second life this set. Game Hunter drops to the Techno Swarm, but Gorgonzola, the person who set up that kill, will die to Kero.
I mean, the support for ADC, worthwhile trade.
And support. Oh, sorry, and solo.
And solo as well. I mean, just in that little skirmish. Yes, they did find it as well. And again, Julio. So Julio's not a player that we've talked about a whole lot, but he's a guy that's been floating around ranked. He was a sub for Energy for a little bit, and everybody just knows him as this really mechanically good, really aggressive player. And playing this Erlang Shen, he is showing off both portions of that. He just chased down everyone in that team fight. Only gave up the chase when he realized, I cannot get these kills. That's fine. I won't kill Terra. I won't kill Vulcan. But then he turns around and goes, I can kill the Vamana. And he chases down Vastrikal. And at the end of the day, he managed to find the kill. We're seeing smart and very decisive play coming out from Julio, which is really, I mean, we haven't seen this level of decisiveness from New Game Plus at all from any of the members. And Julio alone is just putting on a clinic right now. Really, really give it. Sitting at 102 is not the flashiest stat line, but he's playing smart, and I've got to give him mad props for that, where he is... It's going to be tough for New Game Plus to work around this Erlang at this point.
Spudio going to be pressured in the dueling alongside Game Hunter, going to have to juke as much as he can. Luckily, he does have the hives dotted about to give himself a nice bit of movement speed on the right-hand side of the map as well. Vastrikal in a bit of a sticky wicket. Vastrikal going to take a ton of damage. Too much damage. He couldn't even go into the ultimate in time. Kind of a Chronos rewind syndrome. The ultimate could have saved him, but there was simply too much damage too quickly applied. But New Game Plus will immediately take advantage of that moment and take the Gold Fury with minimal resistance.
What? Efix pops up into his ultimate, but he doesn't find anything off the back of it. Stefan blinks in and hits him with the Spirit Ball at a distance. Lance Wolf popping the ultimate as well, trying to get his carry out of there as Game Hunter running away. The Bees good enough to trigger the Terra ultimate, but not good enough to claim a third life at this point. And again, we see nice play coming out from New Game Plus. They recognize you rotate to solo, you lose something in duo, you take the Gold Fury. That's a classic Smite call right there, but then FX pops up into his ultimate after the fact and looks for the aggression, but takes too much damage. Again, kind of an unaware ultimate from FX, and he's got the Jotun's Wrath. There's no defense yet. He's got the cloak, sure, but he doesn't have any real defense yet. FX needs to start building tank here if he's going to keep playing the way that he is, because right now, all he's doing is just kind of throwing his life away for a little bit of extra Ragnarok damage.
It's a bit of a bad situation where you get to a point, you Ragnarok in, you've got someone in your grasp, it's a 2 versus 3, and the person who you Ragnarok ends up killing 2 people and getting out because of the AD carry body blocking. We'll see on the left-hand side, however, Gorgonzola going in, almost killing off Game Hunter. FX goes into the Ragnarok. Beads will be deployed post-haste to stop that. Gorgonzola still keep going. He doesn't even care that there's now a 2-man rotation here for New Game Plus. Victoria's Secret should really take advantage of this and go for something, because New Game Plus just dedicated a significant amount of resources to kill a Geb.
Yeah, they're going to burn the ultimate coming out from Lance Wolf, but I guess the CDR just kind of means, ooh, Stefan is in a really bad situation. Vastrikal's made the rotation as well. Stefan's dead. Stefan is absolutely dead. The ultimate from Vulcan, maybe a little bit too much, but FX going to find it with the Brutalize. Stefan just walked into the enemy jungle by himself and died. I got nothing else for you there. Stefan just absolutely suicided there. And Victoria's Secret need to be careful. This is something that they started to do last week. But when they started to do it last week, the game was effectively over. New Game Plus, they still have a way back in this game. Only up 3K gold. Sure, 6K experience is a lot, but that's not an unwinnable situation from the side of New Game Plus. But Frostyak, he's going to try and make it. That blinks in and destroys Kero.
Spudio now under the ire of FX Brutalize, but the taunt instant from Julio buying Frostyak out of the bad situation, but Spudio still caught in the cause of Ragnarok. That's going to be him going down. That's a nice honey treat there for the Fenrir. Vastrikal going to use the Thorns to try and repose some damage back, but the damage output isn't too much to scare them. They don't care. They have too much protections. They're simply going to walk down Vastrikal. Now FX is going to be on the threat again. Tries to lazy back. Why are you lazy backing in this kind of situation? That is so risky. FX saw somehow getting out. Gorgonzola tried for it. Maybe Efix thought was being too slow, but Efix can get out of there nice and quickly. But Victoria's Secrets, they are starting to lose momentum a little bit. New Game Plus certainly aren't ahead by any means, but Victoria's Secret are now going into more of a farming war than a ruffle stomp war.
Lance Wolf might have put himself in a bad situation. No, they're not going to chase it too far, but you say that, but every time that happens, Julio comes in and he makes a big play. He's gotten off big taunts in this game. He's gotten off big pins. And in that last team fight, he just swoops in and just completely shuts down any momentum that New Game Plus might have been gaining. In Game Hunter, he's trying to gain a way out of here, but Stefan and Gorgonzola will not let him be, as they're both going to be able to find the kill. Last time around, both of them got caught out individually trying to pick him off, so they say, hey, let's put our powers together. And now Gorgonzola as well being picked up and pulled away from the Isis ultimate, but so Efix going to be able to find that kill, but again, carry for support, worthwhile exchange for the side of Victoria's Secret.
New Game Plus now, still looking for a fight on the left-hand side, but Victoria's Secret getting the better end of trades, and we keep mentioning trade because that's important. Both of these teams have been going somewhat tit for tat, but Victoria's Secret always get the better edge. You can see here, New Game Plus and Victoria's Secret will trade relics, but Victoria's Secret expended a little bit more in that case, but now with Frostiak and Julio pushing the mid and the right-hand side respectively, New Game Plus are starting to lose any kind of solid grasp on the jungle. They're able to go in and get fights occasionally, but it feels like Victoria's Secret dictates the where, why, and the how more than New Game Plus really gets a say in the matter.
Victoria's Secret is playing the objective game better, and that's pretty much as clear as it can be. At this point, New Game Plus has won one major neutral objective in getting that one Gold Fury earlier in this game. Other than that, they've really lost everything, and they've also lost control of their own jungle in both of these sets. Frostiak has just been relentlessly pushing into the jungle. Julio has just been relentlessly pushing into the jungle. And as of right now, I mean, that's what they're taking advantage of with this Isis, which I honestly really like. I always have to shout out good Isis play because I always give Isis players so much crap.
It's nice.
Stefan playing on this Isis is invading into the jungle, and that's what you have to do really with this character. He's not been getting off those big team fight changing ultimates and whatnot that sometimes you expect. He's not been getting off those max range spear falls. He's just pushing down the wave, pushing into the jungle, and starting up fights in there with the rest of his team. As well as all the hand holdings that he's doing. Yeah, Efix in a lot of trouble, but Caro, he could be in more because Julio has made the rotation in and now being picked up and pulled underneath the tower. This might not be what Efix wants.
Yeah, Efix gonna be taken out of the situation. New Game Plus did use the Cherry's Blessing courtesy of Lance Wolf, but Victoria's Secret gonna have the power of the Isis ultimate to try and grab it without any steal from New Game Plus. It will be successfully deployed. Victoria's Secret grabbed themselves their first Gold Fury of the game. New Game Plus got the one just before, and now New Game Plus have to retreat. This is gonna be a very, very precarious fight because Vastricol just had to burn his ultimate. Caro has his available, but he's not gonna kill anyone at this point in the game. He is going with a less than max damage build, going with the Height of the Urchin. You can see now he's going into penetration, but because defensive items are emphasized so much more than magical items on mages right now, don't expect Caro to be blowing people up for another good sort of 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of the trade-off with the Vulcan. It's much harder to confirm that long-range, high-damaging ultimate, and it still, to me, feels like they were just taking this away from Stefan, but Stefan has made it work somewhere else, so I don't really know. It just doesn't seem like a worthwhile exchange. And again, though, want to shout him out because his play has been so impressive. Julio, 2 ultimates burned, team forced to retreat, bunch of relics burned for a turtle and a taunt. And right now, Stefan, actually, he could be in trouble. But Efix, he picks up the wrong players. Julio jumps in and saves the life of his mid laner. But just for now, Efix finally chases down Stefan. But Julio, in the meantime, he chased down Caro and Vastricol feeling it too.
While all that in the mid was going, there was also a fight on the left-hand side as well. Gonna be feel bad for the cameraman right now, trying to keep it on 2 things at the same time. Gorgonzola, the Blake from Frostiak, however, ends up killing Vastricol. It's a 3-for-1 trade across the map. Victoria's Secret getting in the better end. New Game Plus have no control of these fights anymore. Even if they try and do some guerrilla warfare with Game Hunter split pushing with an escort from Lance Wolf, it still ends up with Victoria's Secret rolling around, splitting up their forces, and just butchering them.
Okay, this is going to be the last time I mention it, but again, Julio is just playing the best game out of anybody here right now. Julio has looked very impressive through pretty much every single set, and I think it might be time to crown him as one of the better players on Victoria's Secret, because right now he is just strutting his stuff, looking very, very confident in all of these matches. And this is going to be a player that I think teams are going to have to pay a bit more attention to in the future, because he's just making all the right moves at this point. He's not missing. He is putting himself in the perfect positioning. The New Game Plus haven't been able to find an answer. And at the end of the day, even the fights that they start to win, Julio completely disrupts. And Frostiak can just walk in and use all of his abilities and do a ton of damage to people. And that is terrifying for the side of New Game Plus right now, because they have to worry so much about this tanky frontliner that somebody like Frostiak, who should be the much easier target to kill, becomes that much harder to kill because their eyes are just constantly on Julio as well. So right now we're going to have to see whether or not New Game Plus can find an answer, because the fight's slowly starting to slip away from their grasp.
Maybe Victoria's Secret can now try and find a couple of kill shots to the towers, because right now Victoria's Secret has been kind of in a bit of a spun wheel situation. They're going to have another fight on the left-hand side. If they get the good win on this, they need to push in for some towers. And you can see now Victoria's Secret sending people onto the flanks as well. Stefan trying to keep Kero back. Stefan's going to end up blinking in, but no real action made off it. But it's going to be a communal action by Victoria's Secret instead. They're going to send Julio in as the front line. The rest of Victoria's Secret start pounding down the tower. Julio keeping 4 people tied up, kills off Lance Wolf. Julio will actually end it down, but look at Frostiak. Frostiak sneaking around with the blink. The 3-man water spout. The crushing wave's even better. Kills off Kero.
Kero drops. Gorgonzola chasing forward, but it looks as though the call is Phoenix, and that will be what they go on as indeed. Julio finally makes a bad play, but unfortunately for the rest of the team, Frostiak was just around the river bend, and he destroyed everyone with the combination of the knockup. And unfortunately for FX, he had no idea they were lying in wait for the ambush, and now FX, he'll be able to jump in and kill Gorgonzola, but Frostiak should be able to put the final nail in the coffin. Rampage for Frostiak, and there's no better word to describe what New Game Plus, or what Victoria's Secret have been doing in New Game Plus since Game 1.
Now, I can respect the push by Vastrico, get something going, and that could work well for New Game Plus if they win a fight against Victoria's Secret. And that could be a potential that is coming up within the next 15 minutes, because Victoria's Secret, they are ahead massively. If we have a gander at the graphs, like you said, 11,000 experience, 7,000 gold. But the closer we get to where both teams are level 20, one fight turns it around. So Victoria's Secret essentially are on a clock right now, for all intents and purposes. They need to get a good fight, get some more damage, and it has to be a wounding damage, like some more Phoenixes down, to where New Game Plus cannot afford to leave the base without severe repercussions.
They cannot go full disrespecties like they did last week. That is basically the kind of the general gist of
I'm not saying full disrespecties. I'm just saying they need,
they
need to push the pace.
To end it. They need to end it. They cannot mess around like they did last week. And I think that they understand that this is a very different caliber of team than Nova Sorsa was last week. So they're going to go ahead. They're going to snag away that gold period as well. Just, again, not giving them any room. And the nice blink comes out from Gorgonzola. Catches 3 with it, but nobody was in a position to follow up. And now Gorgonzola is the one who's going to get dove on. But blinking in is Stefan, and he's going to stun out Efix. Efix is just being thrown around everywhere right now as Frostiak continues to charge forward, but not in range for the water cannon.
A Terror's Blessing used to save Efix. Efix must have felt like he was walking through treacle. He had that much CC on him. From our perspective, it looked like quite a short duration CC chain. You know, knocked up, stunned, knocked up again, water carpet. But on his end, that would have felt like an absolute eternity. And FX has had to deal with that for most of this game. He's gotten his fair share of kills and he's 7-4. But a lot of the time, he brings someone in. The only target they can really safely go for is Gorgonzola, because Gorgonzola can just shield any other potential target to eat.
It's weird to say that those kills just haven't mattered. Lance Wolf, though, actually, Kero turning it around, blows up Gorgonzola, and a beautiful axe stun comes out from Game Hunter as well. Blinking forward was Frostiak, though, and Lance Wolf, he's got no room to run. And now Frostiak, though, he's caught between a rock and a hard place on the back end of the team. Tries to get to the knockup, and is going to do a bunch of damage to Game Hunter, but the rest of his team has finally showed up, and they're making them pay. Game Hunter gets dropped, FX gets dropped, and Frostiak still stands. Surrender vote gets thrown out there by New Game Plus. Wouldn't be shocked if this one goes through, as the rest of Victoria's Secret, only down to support, they're just going to go right for the Fire Giant.
Yeah, there's going to be a good call. Fire Giant hasn't been taken yet this game, but this is going to be an easy take unless somehow New Game Plus is able to have Kero throw an ultimate over the wall and steal it, which, with Julio tagging him and keeping him in check, that's going to be a bit hard. He could actually kill him as well. No, luckily Kero can hobble his way on out of there.
Yeah, safe call coming out. I respect that from Julio. He could have killed him. He would have absolutely killed him, but the safe call, they don't know where the other people on the map are. You know, let's play it safe. Let's not throw the lead. And again, right now, I mean, we're just seeing Victoria's Secret really kind of put on a masterclass almost. I think at this point, Berg, it is safe to say that these are your favorites in Europe. I think it's safe to say that right now, Victoria's Secret look like the best team in Europe. They've got the strategies, they've got the objective play, and they've got just the raw mechanical ability to kind of outpace everyone else right now. And even on a character like Isis Stefan, he's got 2 deaths. Gorgonzola, we've seen him time and time again just run into the enemy team by himself. But it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, the rest of the team shows up. And it's the Frezzy. It's the Frezzy effect, right? Where Frezzy dies a whole bunch. And it doesn't matter because everybody else kills everybody else. That's what's happening right now, is Gorgonzola just kind of looks like a better Frezzy almost.
And you can see now Lancewolf and Gorgonzola just having a nice little wave off, having a little bit of a chat across enemy lines. But fortunately for them, be that being New Game Plus, their front line is currently right at their front door. Victoria's Secret are trying to push down this left-hand side. It's going to be successful because New Game Plus is trying to keep the healthy Phoenix up, sacrifice the wounded one to maybe keep the middle one up is definitely the good call. And going back to Gorgonzola, he's gone with the Soul Reaver now as well, so he wants to try and keep a lot of HP damage done. The Cataclysm will unfortunately not do massive damage to Vastricol because he can heal that right back up again, but Victoria's Secret, they're about to get hit by the Kero ultimate, will do okay damage for the time being.
It did almost nothing at the end of the day. No shell even being used. It was just that little damage. Now blinking in is Gorgonzola.
There's the
blinking in is Frostiak, and Kero is just being erased. Frostiak 100-0. Gonna slip into the Isis ultimate as well to gain a little bit of healing. He's gonna pick up 1, but the bead's good enough. The Spirit Ball better, but it's Gorgonzola that gets credit for the kill. 2 down for New Game Plus in Victoria's Secret. They're done playing games. It's time to end the Titan.
Victoria's Secret is obnoxiously tanky. Between Hides of the Urchins, Bulwarks, Book of the Deads, and a Geb as well backing them up, that is a level of tankiness that you could see Kero fires his ult, barely tickles them. They don't even need to acknowledge that it happened, but they still can pump out a ton of their own damage because of their late game focused composition. And with Stefan, he was there, he wasn't top of the damage table, he was about middle at 17k. He was still able to assist massively with silences, with stuns. He's able to the Guardian Circle as well. It's been a while since we've seen Guardian Circles really properly used because Isis wasn't really favored too much. So, while it wasn't all about the early game Ruffle Stomp, that was just clinical 2-0ing there by Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, that was textbook, really. They drafted compositions and they did what their compositions were supposed to do. Frostiak, the flashy stat line coming out 7-0-11. Just erasing people off the map time and time again. Spudio, he was down 0-3 at one point, finishes out 4-3, pumping out quite a bit of damage. Most notably, though, looking at that structure damage, 9k for him. That was really where the B came into play. And of course, I mentioned him over and over again. Julio played really seemingly the textbook game coming out of that solo lane. Overall, just a clean win for Victoria's Secret. New Game Plus. They're not the favorites anymore is all I really have to say. Victoria's Secret really showing that this kind of newer squad is exactly the kind of squad that could come out of EU and potentially even make it to the gauntlet.
Now, on that note, we still have one more game to go. It's going to be SNES versus Novus Orsa. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't go anywhere. Final best of 2 of the day coming up shortly.
time for faking jacks. Ain't no time for faking jacks. Ain't no time for faking jacks.
Second set of the day, Sens versus Novus Orsa coming at you shortly, going into the picks and bans. Both of these teams had a rather unfortunate session last week, to put it lightly. Both teams getting 0-2'd in different degrees of harshness. Novus Orsa definitely held the L significantly harder. But even with that withstanding, what we saw just last game with New Game Plus getting dismantled, maybe one of these teams will end up rising out of the ashes.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't quite as dramatic as what last week ended up being for the side of Nova Sorsa. But again, I'm not counting that game. Maybe they just had an awful week. Maybe they really that bad. But no matter what, we cannot count that game towards the overall track record of Nova Sorsa. We're gonna have to see whether or not Nova Sorsa, as we're experiencing a slight bit of difficulties, and we're just sorting that out for you right now before going into picks and bans. But again, Nova Sorsa, they just looked bad. And Sens, they didn't look great, but they definitely didn't look as bad as Nova Sorsa. But Victoria's Secret coming out and looking so dominant against the side of New Game Plus, maybe it's just Victoria's Secret is that much better than everybody else.
Yeah, potentially. I hate bringing in these analogies, but I feel it's important. Of course, I also do the Asia Leagues. And the way we saw Victoria's Secret play there felt like the way Zenith is playing right now in the Asia Leagues. They went from like, okay, to holy cow, these guys are top of the world now. So with that in mind, maybe we'll see something here as well. Maybe we'll see one of these teams just kind of like, all right, that last week, it definitely wasn't a fair look on us. We'll show you what we can do. Now, Pix and Van's finally coming on through here. Going to be Terra and the Odin first on the Oki to be taken out of the bans. And I can definitely understand that. There's no real surprise there, no random picks. This is going to be nice and typical for the time being, because neither one of these teams wants to upset the status quo to start with.
Camelot's banned again. Curious, honestly.
I mean,
it's a little bit,
he can be
a little bit
obnoxious.
strange. He can be very obnoxious, but I'm not sure why there's been so much banning priority over in EU. If anybody would love to help a poor share 2 out, that would be appreciated. RDO also getting taken off the board. No surprise there. Osiris first pick. A character we haven't seen being first pick very often, but still just as good as he ever was in that solo lane bully role, most notably Mando Warrior, our former CC alum in the SPL last week, putting on a pretty solid clinic against Cyclone Spin with that character. So hey, he's just as good as ever. Wukong going to be picked up. Still a bit of flexibility for that Wukong, and technically a bit of flexibility for that Scotty as well, which is probably going to the duo lane.
Yeah, I don't really think Moex is going to be pulling out Scotty mid, so Henry probably going to be nabbing the Scotty up for himself. Sen's going to be considering their next options. They do have 2 more they can grab. Going to be the Ganesh picked up here. They want to try and grab themselves a nice effective support and a flex pick, sort of. Soul you don't see in the carry role too much anymore. With the amount of carries that are really good right now, most Souls will just be, hey, go to the mid, be safe, blow people up with your supernova.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on where they look to go next, but Soul definitely has that flexibility. Ganesh, no flexibility to his kit. Robin, yeah, there's flexibility between Robin and Wukong. I'd imagine it's going to be Jungle Robin, because that makes a little bit more sense to me, as Kumbhakarna gets banned.
Hello.
That's a strange ban, because Ganesh is already picked. That's just bizarre. I don't know why they would ban Kumbhakarna.
Do they think it's going to be like Osiris Jungle Kumbhakarna solo, so they don't want Kumbhakarna to be in the solo?
But
Maybe?
I don't think you're going to be afraid of the Kumbhakarna solo.
Hey, there was about a 2-week period a little while back where Kumbhakarna solo was running rampant over Smite, so he has history, technically.
I mean, dude, Season 1, you build Warlock Sash, just go into the solo lane and farm. Was so much fun, but despite the fun being involved, Huyi, Thoth, and Geb also not going to be available. Fafnir are going to be the next selection for Frezzy, Thor, and Cornunos, rounding out the draft for Sens. That should put Soul into the mid lane, with Cornunos going into the duo lane position. And a Raw for, I almost said Wolfie, a Raw for Moex, other EU mid laner. That used to be a Hunter player. Going to be a nice, safe pick where he's going to be able to heal up his team in siege positions, going to do a ton of damage as well. And we're going to be getting into game here to really just kind of see. It will indeed be the Robin jungle with the Wukong solo. And of course, Carnunos ADC with Soul in that mid lane position. No real shocker here, no real mix-ups here. This is a fairly standard draft between both teams.
Now, the draft is somewhat standard, but the relics have tipped me off to something. Sens has gone with a nice, calm, standard relic selection. Beads, sprints, and a shell. But Novus also, considering that they have Moex to heal them up, want to go a bit more aggressive. They've got both Frezzy and Flurry Q rocking horrific emblems. So expect two-man pincer ganks on the mid, I would imagine, very quickly.
So they've only got one sprint to counter out the... That's weird. That is an odd selection, honestly, coming out from the side of Sens. Kind of curious that they would go so all in on this horrific emblem for the slows here, but I guess looking over at the side, they don't really have any slow immunity on their team, other than Soul, of course, who's 3 is... I could go on about how much I hate that 3 forever, but still kind of an odd selection here. Is Gondor 6 and iPort right now in that Soul, and they're going to be slapping it out, and Osiris will usually win those slap trades, but right now it actually looks like iPort is getting the better end of this trade, as Gondor 6 just maybe not quite showing the level of efficiency that you normally would see, but iPort, he could be in some trouble now as Grimoire has rotated in, spinning to win. iPort gonna drop for the first blood and the shell pop just to be safe. Nice play. That was a very textbook and clean play coming out from Sens.
I was a little scared that him missing the double tap to teleport into a good position would sacrifice the kill, but no. Rise Grimoire able to pick himself the first blood. Novus also, though, smartly making use of the time and the intelligence of 2 members going to the right-hand side of the map to instead exploit the left-hand side and nab themselves some oracles, which is always going to be nice to have. And with 2 other members of Novus also coming around now to probably just grab the harpies. And you can see a couple of pings as well. They want to keep David Arnaise and Alfred Me afraid so they can isolate Remag Doku and especially isolate Gondor 6.
Yeah, that was actually kind of a weird play coming out from the side of Sens. They could have swooped around to those mid camps and at least put a little bit of pressure on it. They had a pretty big clear advantage over Frezzy and Henry, but instead Alfred and David just make the decision that, you know what, we're not going to do it. And again, another trip over, repeat of last week. Novus Orsa, their solo laner, is getting abused as Sens seem to have taken notes from what Victoria's Secret did, and they've just decided to camp them.
Goes up into the air, wanted the gank, but unfortunately for them, Moex was going to heal up, and that was going to be a suicide attempt to put it well. So now, with him using the ultimate just to come back to the lane, is going to be a bit of a wasted opportunity, because that's going to be down for a somewhat decent bit of time, 75 seconds right now, which that will come up quickly-ish, but as the pause, I imagine there was a DC. We'll find out who the DC was in a moment. That ultimate being down gives Novus Orsa room to start plotting a comeback, either through stealing farm or getting kills.
So curiously enough, Moex elected to build into the shoes of focus first. He just outright built the cooldown boots, and that's just not a strategy that we've really seen, honestly, since Worlds of last year. Worlds last year, where everybody was building full boots for that extra pressure to try and push forward and do as much damage as they could. Where early game invades, they meant everything. But now, going for that cooldown boots, it's just kind of an odd selection because it doesn't give you the same level of push power that something like the Soul Trap start does, the Tier 2 Book of Thought, where you have extra pressure, you have extra damage, and you have kind of the promise of more damage to come in the future as well. But what it does do is you still run out of mana very quickly. So it's kind of a weird start coming out from Moex right now, where he just wasn't able to take that much advantage of that extra push power as well. Really, the wave clear that they managed to get was because Grimoire rotated over to the Soul lane to help out Gondor 6.
Yeah, now, one advantage with Moex going with this specific start, I'm actually going to see all the fire elementals taken by Sens, even with an attempt by Novus Orsa to get in there and take 1 or 2 away. He's going to go into the Reliquary tree, which means magical power and even more mana. So not only will Moex be able to cast his heals and his abilities frequently, he'll also have a lot of mana to do it for an even more extended period of time. So maybe Moex wants to play a bit more of a utility Ra, be able to keep his heal on a quick uptime, and just chipping the people down.
But they need him to do damage. because he's the only real magical source of damage that they're going to have. Yes, Frezzy can do a ton of damage on this Fafnir. We've seen it time and time again, but I don't want to see Frezzy building into those really aggressive items all the time.
Sorry to cut you off. He's up in the air, coming back down, trying to what was that ult?
He's just not in range again. He's just not been in range for any of his ultimates. He thinks somebody's going to be somewhere. He goes up into his ultimate, and they're not there. We've seen good play out of Grimoire up to this point in the game. Honestly, 1-0-1. Made good rotations, hit good double taps. Ultimates, he hasn't had a successful one yet. He's just kind of looked a little lost almost with his ult.
Remag Doku now going to be under the ire. There's the snipe. You wanted damage sinks. There's your bloody damage. Doku could end up going down. Frezzy going to go into the Dragon Form, and it will kill off David Arnes. The corruption damage simply too much. Goodbye, my friend. You're going to go back to heaven for about 15 seconds or so. Novus Orsa now going in on Alfred as well. They really want to enforce early pressure on the jungle.
Yeah, they want that aggression. They want that damage. And while Grimoire set the early pace without his ultimate right now, unfortunately, Flurrycube going to have a much better time controlling things in terms of early game aggression. That Robin jungle is just so can just be so devastating. And right now, Flurrycube showing off how good it is, as well as something else to note there. Doku, he had the purification beads and he got stunned and had a moment where he could have beads and walked away, but he just didn't expect the damage coming out of Moex, I guess, and thought that he would be safer. Didn't expect the snipe coming out of Moex. And he pays for it with his life. Unfortunately for Novus Orsa, though, the only thing they get off the backs of that is 2 kills. They're unable to find anything else. Both jungle camps down. The Gold Fury also left completely alone. They did get the oracles, but other than that, kind of just a 2-kill gain for Novus Orsa, keeping the game within striking distance for really both teams. Sens, though, they are leading still, 700 gold and 1,600 experience.
Keeping the slight edge is going to be handy because Sens will be able to strike that through the roof if they can grab themselves a good fight and then summarily take a Gold Fury. Gold Fury is the primary target. You can see both teams trying to keep it either warded or oracled. Both, actually, in the case of Novus Orsa, Frezzy chilling there with the ward and also with the Oracle Vision. That is going to be where this game tips, unless this is going to be one of those games where people have got so much vision and control over there for both sides that no one really wants to be the one who pulls the trigger first. And sometimes that can happen, which will then result in fights more focusing around stealing red buffs, purple buffs, blue buffs, speed buffs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and right now, aggression in the mid lane. Grimoire, he's going in, actually, off of that hammer toss. Does not connect on the double tap again. And I said Grimoire is playing pretty well on floor, but he honestly looks a little bit unsure. Not hitting on those double taps, teleporting in too early, ulting in awkward spots. Kind of makes me wonder how many hours in the gym Grimoire has on this character, because so far it's just not been great for him up to this point. But for right now, we will continue to see the fight as now he's going to pop up into the ultimate. Doku popping his beats instantaneously. The ultimate again just doesn't connect with anything.
There's a pro player, begins with a W, ends with an N, similar thought performance sometimes. I'm having a hard time remembering. Now, this is not good. Yeah, convert, Wilburn, yeah. Rise Damn it, six. Rise Grimoire has had a very lackluster track record with his Anvils of Dawn's Frezzy, going to be taking a half health, has to go into Draconic Corruption, going to give Gondorazi a couple of love taps in the process. That ultimate is such a great time waster for the enemy, because not only does it act as a self-Aegis effect for the Fafnir using it, but if you're still stood there wanting to fight him, you're going to be losing on the damage trade.
Yeah, I mean, that ultimate coming out from Fafnir is just devastating. It lets him do so much damage, it lets his team do a whole bunch more damage, and it also just taking him out of the map for a while. Something I will note, though, right now, Gondor6, ever since iPort got camped, those first 2 kills, Gondor6 has just been ahead, and that is exactly where he wants to be, sitting 2 levels up on him right now. iPort really hasn't had that many opportunities, honestly, to fight his way back into this game, and Grimoire seems to want to go back to what worked before. No, they're just going to invade the blue buff here, and really there's nothing that iPort can do, except for, I was going to say, except for cheeky cudgel over the wall, but that, it was already dropped.
Yeah, that was, you know, that can happen quite frequently, especially with the Magic Cudgel having that 25% bonus against minions and jungle camps. You will often see some Wukongs just kind of go, boop, I'm taking that, or boop, I'm securing my own buff. But now, It's going to be Sens looking to try and keep securing the left-hand side. Rise Gromori goes, ascends to the heavens again. Can he actually hit someone? Yes, he will! Huzzah! He actually hits someone with the ultimate and takes about half his HP in the process.
Yeah, Frezzy going to charge forward. The hook toss is going to be good from Arnias for right now. Going to pop the pillars as well. Arnias playing a nice support Ganesh right now, keeping his team alive, dumping his whole kit to do it, but honestly worthwhile for him. And that's something I want to shout out. I want to shout out the Ganesh play. We don't get to see a lot of Ganesh, or as much Ganesh as I would have originally anticipated when this character was released. But he's got such a support-orientated kit that it really can just be such a good thing to have for your team. And right now, definitely not supportive that Novasaurus are looking for. They want to start up this fight at the Gold Fury. Frezzy charging it in front of everyone else. The hook toss again, silenced out and being hit by everything. He's a pig, and now he's dead. Alfred Me claims the life off of a beautiful CC chain from Sens.
Yeah, that kind of CC chaining is so hard to get around because DR only affects it really so much with the polymorph and then also the silence as well, which is constant. That Ohm, we've got to talk about Ohm. Ganesh, that is one of the best CCs. It's the vowel of peace, and yet it causes untold amounts of rage.
Yeah, I love
It's
Ohm.
obnoxious.
It's what is, I think it's a 2-3 second channel, something along those lines. I'm checking on it right now.
Yeah, we can
it's
check.
about a 2 second, it's 1.8 seconds, so it's about a 2 second silence that you can just kind of channel. And it requires very good timing. It requires the ability to just kind of recognize it in team fight, but using that ability and just keep making sure that Freddy couldn't escape for long enough for Alfred to walk by and drop the Wild Hunt as well. I mean, Freddy was dead there. He just got caught out and whittled down so quickly. I'm honestly excited to keep seeing whether or not Sens are going to keep going for these kinds of plays, as Kromori almost getting caught out in the jungle. Fortunately, a quick hammer and a quick trip to the sky as well as the fight starting on the solo side.
Let's see if Gromori can hit someone. No! That's going to be about 1 for 5 in terms of hits and misses. Now, Flurry Q, however, going to dash away. Ultimate from Mercs is going to send Gromori to about half HP. It's all kicking off on the right-hand side. Frezzy trying to apply his one where he can. Going to use the jump over the top as well. Try and keep Gromori in check. Flurry Q, 2 damage to really contribute, but Gondra 6 now going in. Using the tethers. Stun. Supernova. The CC is all from David Arnaise. Frezzy had nowhere to go.
And now, popping right up into the cloud was iPort, not wanting to risk anything right now. Just the end of, honestly, a really awkward fight for both sides, where they kind of, everybody was just in haphazard positions and they were hitting their abilities, but not really hitting them where they needed to. But at the end of the day, it's Frezzy going just a little bit too deep, and Arnias makes him pay. David Arnaise has played a fantastic game so far on Ganesh, honestly. We're just hitting all the right CC at the right point in time. Moex, he could be feeling it right now. The wall keeps him stuck in. There's nowhere to go. Gromori, he is going to find a kill as well off the back of it. But really, whether or not it actually was gifted, that was a kill gifted by Arnias.
Sens with Oracle and gifted kill in hand. Gonna be looking pretty now if we have a little gander at the drafts. 3.4k experience, 1.6k gold, and even with Doku taking some love taps from Frezzy, David Arnaise can simply just sit there, ohm, and discourage him from any more mean actions.
Unless something drastic happens, I'd imagine this god's gonna get banned in game 2. I mean, he's just played such a good Ganesh game. I would be surprised if they didn't take it away from him. Really just to kind of be like, no, you're not going to do that again. Is Alfred going to be duking out? I'm surprisingly quiet duo lane up to this point, honestly, considering the fact we've got a Soul and a Carnunos. Or not Soul, Scotty, the other S god. They're kind of quiet. They haven't really been fighting all that much. They've just been both kind of farming up and looking for their moments in the team fights. And for me, that favors definitely the player who went for the Devos Gauntlets. And right now in the jungle, Frezzy, he could be getting CC down again. Up in the sky goes Gromorium.
There we
down
go.
goes Moex. He hits 2 with the ultimate this time around. And now Henry could be the next target that they look for, but no. Instead, it just might be Frezzy. Arnaise is in the perfect spot. They're going to wait for him to come down again, and Arnaise, just barely going to miss the hook slam, but it doesn't matter. The Ohm's still there. Gromori, a second kill for him in this team fight, and the Gold Fury seems to be the next target on their hit list.
Frezzy, those invulnerability frames saved him from a quick death, but he still ends up dying. Flurry Q now hanging about, but it's a 1 versus 5, so use the Mystic Rush, probably the safest option. iPort just kind of walks in time to see, oh, they're taking the Fury, and our support's dead. I'm going to go ahead and fly back to the mid lane now, and probably the solo as well. Sens has been keeping control of the jungle in such an effective way in these fights. They've been relying on either the setup from Groy, which, to give the guy credit, I'll hold the L, he's shaping up over the course of the game. Probably needs about 10 minutes to warm up, but he's coming online now. David on Nays as well, solid play. But you've also got to shout out the ultimates from Gondor6, Doku, and Alfred Me. They've been able to consistently land those high damage ultimates every time.
Yeah, they're really controlling the space very, very well up to this point. And I mean, David has had full control really of these team fights up to this point in time with all their CCs have. Ooh, actually hold that thought over on the right side of the map. Henry, he's actually being focused down now. What looked like a clean pick turns into a clean pick for the other team. Gromori finds one. Frezzy, he's in a bad situation and he can't jump away, able to just barely get out of the Ohm, and the slow plus stun gonna be good enough for now. But iPort, he just walked into this team fight through the portal, and now they're wanting to start it again. Nova Sorsa, they smell blood in the water, but I don't know if they are picking the right fight here.
We're going to see Novus also charging through the portal, full HP. Kurna's ultimate going to be used there by Alfred, going to discourage them a little bit. But iPort now taking the two-man wrath of Sens, while two more retreat on the right-hand side. Frezzy going to stun. Gondrix's going to be next up. Potentially, Frezzy misses on the stun, a little bit too short there. Even with the massive wingspan of the dragon, he can only go so far. David Arnes going in first on, trying to keep his team protective. Give Alfred Me a firing line, but unfortunately, he's going to get turned into elephant soup.
And now it's going to be up to Alfred swinging on the back, and Doku, he's also made the rotation. Ipor, he gets caught out. Frezzy, he just used his last mana to throw one hammer. Doesn't matter. Doku,
nice.
He's got the double kill off the perfect rotation there. Time being bought for David by David Arneas and forcing Nova Sorsa to go back in, but they went right back into a trap. Doku able to find 2 kills.
Look at Rise.
Beautiful play. And right now Gromori is in a real bad spot, and that ultimate's not going to be hitting anything because he's just using it to run away. Tier 1 tower in the mid lane also going to drop. Perfect team fight coming out from the side of Sens, and it's going to net them 6,500 XP and 4,500 gold advantage in their favor.
Yeah, being able to stuff the attempt. They did lose the Portal Demon. Moex is able to steal that, or rather, excuse me, secure it for his team with the use of the Searing Pain, but then the entire fight just collapsed for Nova Sorsa. Even with them going in, they simply overstayed their welcome, and Sens regrouped, led a couple people about in a merry chase, waited for the right moment, and then went in. And which is surprising, because you'd think Nova Sorsa would automatically win Wars of Attrition because they have Moex as a healer. And Frezzy can buff the attack speeds as well of Henry and Flurry Q. But still, Sens is getting ahead in these longer fights. Why?
Because Moex's healing hasn't mattered up to this point. Which chart is it? It is chart 3. The healing. F3. Taking a look over. He's got 3k healing.
That's not
what is 3k healing? He has negated the support's damage. Not even. He's brought the support's damage down to 900. That's nothing. I mean, at the end of the day, that really is just nothing up to this point. Moex has now put himself in a position where he can get off these kind of long heals and whatnot, and with the cooldown boots as well, not doing as much in terms of healing.
Gromori.
Yes, he's also got some raw power here. Gromori looking for something, but I think that this might just be a situation where he ults nothing. No, not going to connect onto Frezzy, but Frezzy going to do what he can. The wall stun, and he is just stuck in place, nowhere to go. Gromori doesn't hit the ultimate, but he hits everything else, and Frezzy pays the iron price for it.
There was a lot of stuff going on there, so I couldn't see the exact distance. I'm not sure if his ultimate missed or if it was negated by the Dragon Form's immunity frames. But now Ipor gonna be the next target here for Sens. Ipor gonna be stuck in the tower 3 versus 1 with 2 good pushes as well. This is gonna be a bit of a tall ask for him to defend this tower, so just let it sacrifice. Flurry Q is gonna rotate around to just make sure his buddy's okay. But Sens is now regrouping as a full 5-man cohesive unit and are going to be on a bit of a warpath now. Getting a tower is going to be a bit of a tall order to go for, so instead, maybe look for a pick on some separated pairs of Nova Sorsa players.
Ooh, and Moex might just be that player that they're looking at right now. Going to take a ton of damage, forced to burn both of his relics for just the pillars. So he's going to be a very vulnerable target in this next team fight, notably looking at that cooldown on Gromori's ultimate up in 10 seconds. Moex is a prime target for him right now with only the Hide of the Urchin and no stacks online for him. He's going to be a pretty easy pick here. Looks like Nova Sorsa might be setting up for something cheeky. They're going to start up this Fire Giant, but it might just all be a big bait. And I don't think this is a fight that they want to bait in. This is a neutral ground. This is not where they want to start an engagement.
Gonna see Gromori take to the heavens again. Frezzy gonna be CC'd. Frezzy has been the target for Sense every fight for the past 5 minutes, and it seems to be working out well. Get rid of Frezzy so we can't waste your time with the ultimate, and now iPort's gonna be next up. Sens have finally gotten the key to keeping Nova's Orsa shut down, and it is consistently go for the guy who dies first, because Nova's Orsa seem a little reluctant to dump everything with the first couple seconds of a fight.
Yeah, and Frezzy, so usually Frezzy dying a whole bunch doesn't really matter. I always make the joke of, well, Frezzy died a bunch, but what did it matter? I mean, he gained stuff for his team. But right now, Frezzy's dying when he doesn't want to die. He's not dying in situations where the rest of his team can collapse, and he's not dying in situations where he is set up he's setting everyone else up for success or wasting a whole bunch of abilities and whatnot. Frezzy's just dying because Frezzy is being picked on by Sens. They noted how much, ooh, speaking of dying just because of Sins, Henry just walked into the Gold Fury.
Not good.
Oh, that really feels bad for...
Did they have a ward there, or was it de-warded? Because they must have figured that out.
He just walked up in plain view of everybody and got stunned out by the wall and died.
Was he just face-checking at that point? Like, is anyone here? Oh god, please no, don't do this to me. And then he ends up dying.
Yeah, he rounded the corner to, I don't know, place down a ward or something, and he died for it, because that's the way the news goes right now for the side of Nova Sorsa. They've got no line to anything up to this point. I mean, Frezzy, yes, he's the player that's died a whole bunch. Flurky, I guess, has no deaths on to his name yet, but still, nobody on Nova Sorsa is really able to have any form of an impact on the game as Gromori accidentally puts his wall into the portal demon. The two-man ohm coming out from Arneas just to keep Moex occupied for right now. Frezzy going in, and he's going to look to try and do what he can. And this might actually be a situation where Frezzy can make it out. Yes, he will indeed, because all of Sens have decided we don't want to start this fight. We just want it back, spend our gold that we've gotten, and then come right on back in. And hey, guess what? There's a portal fresh for them to take.
But is that portal going to be risky? Nova Sorsa isn't immediately there to shunt up the entrance, so Sens can just take the portal nice and calmly and be right there, and they can keep the tempo. That's important right now, because Sens have an advantage. They're playing with the lead, and they've got to keep things nice and upbeat. They've got to keep Nova Sorsa on the back foot as well, and they're doing that well right now. Red Gromori comes in, but Frezzy jumps out of the way successfully. iPort, however, you took the wrong turn in Albuquerque. Gromori is now going from whiffing ultimates left and right to 7 kills and no deaths. What a turnaround.
Yeah, Gromori, I mean, to be fair, he got a whole bunch of those kills while still missing his ultimates, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. He's showing off his mechanics everywhere else. Maybe just a little bit of jitters. His Flurry Q, he doesn't have any health bars left. He's going to get dropped here. Moex and Henry, the next 2 targets, beautiful Palers and nice roots coming out as well. Alfred and I don't know who else got the kill, but 2 fall for Novus Orsa and the Fire Giant. Hey, that's not on their team, but that's definitely not going to help Novus Orsa out at all. Frezzy, a level 9 Fafnir, just looking at this. He's going to jump in and go for the miracle play, but it really doesn't matter. Frezzy, a familiar sight for him, is dead.
Nova Sorsa's kind of overstretching the mark somewhat now, and can you blame them? They don't want to just sit there and let this happen to them. That would be the ideal situation for Sens, but if they try and go in, they are simply too far behind. I mean, I don't even want to pull up the graphs. The one number I feel which is very important here is Frezzy's level versus David Arne's. The support that's meant to be aggro, face punch, get in your face, is level 9. The support that is meant to be peaceful, sits with the team, uses Dharmic Pillars to shred people occasionally, but mainly relies on the rest of his team to do the work, is sitting at level 13. Because Sens has been able to take consistent fights, Frezzy hasn't been able to go off and farm to rectify this de-leveling, so he has to come help because it's his duty, which means he's now 1 and bloody 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other number that matters is that the highest levels on Sens are only above 1 player currently. Or highest levels on Nova Sorsa are only above 1 player currently on the side of Sens, and that's the support. 16 for both the ADC and the jungler, 16 for Doku, 17 for Gromori, 18 for Gondor6, 19 for Alfred, and 13 for David. This is pretty much worst case scenario coming out for Nova Sorsa, where they're, again, just getting stomped. And right now, I mean, I would be very, very concerned if I was the players on this team about this kind of relegations mark coming up here. If they drop down, I mean, This game is probably over for all intents and purposes, but if they drop the next game as well, they've got no chance of making it away from relegations up to this point. And that sets up Sens pretty well for success, other than the fact that the next team that they're playing happens to be Victoria's Secret. But hey, maybe Sens can pull something out of the hat, and they can try and pull something off against Victoria's Secret. As Frezzy, oh, Frezzy, he's just getting pulled to the grave again.
And hello, coming in, Gromori, he wants a little piece more. The rest of his team still trying to fight off the two big frontliners going for them. Florikyu ends up dying to Gondrosix. Gromori tanking the tower, has to use the Aegis, but in comes the Kernanos. Barrett actually using the Bramble Blast to kill off Henry. Doesn't want to go for the autos. That Bramble Blast, the root, is surprisingly good in these fights. Sens has so many other abilities. We've kind of been just sort of overlooking Alfred Me a little bit. He's also been contributing not only with the Wild Hunts, but he's also been using these Bramble Blasts for appropriate routes, and now you can see Novus Orsa, their defenses are crumbling. Iport is being chased through the woods by Rise Gromori, and they're about to have a 1 versus 1 as Novus Orsa's Phoenix is being demolished.
Ooh, Iport almost turning it around, but unfortunately Gromori just a little too good with that wall. Phoenix gets dropped, and right now it is looking like curtains for Novus Orsa. They've had no answer at anything that the side of Sens have been able to throw out there. Frezzy walks up, and he hits him with the hammer, because why not? I mean, at this point, really, it's why not just bop him with the hammer a little bit here? In the leveling situation, well, at least more people are catching up to Doku's level, which I'm actually not sure why Doku is so, in retro, in like the grand scheme of things, so under-leveled. I guess it's probably because Doku's splitting with everybody. That's probably why. What a good mid laner. Just splitting with everybody else and never getting any farm. Oh, man,
you know what's the worst thing about having to figure out kills and splitting and whatnot? With a Ganesh there's no indicator in the spectator for kills bestowed. It's just this person got a kill. So we could say, oh, Remag got a fantastic kill, and really David Arnaise was the one who got it. But him being a selfless Ganesh, he gives it to someone else. It's so confusing.
Well, honestly, you know, you can normally kind of figure it out, but sometimes it's a little tough. But right now we're looking at Arnaez, 0, 3, and 18. He's got 18 assists, and I don't know if he would have gotten a single kill. I mean, up to this point, just really playing a fantastic support game, as I mentioned. Gromori as well, the flashy stat line, though, 9, 0, 9, been a part of just as many kills as his Ganesh has, but coming up with 9 kills, really, and Iport. Oh, Iport is trying to run away. It looks as though he might actually be able to run away. Frezzy, he pokes his head in. Frezzy, you should have learned your lesson by now. That's not a good place for you to be.
Frezzy, unfortunately, now just hitting the level 10 mark. Doesn't even have access to a second relic yet. Gonna have to go into the ultimate form, and he's deleted off the map entirely by Remag Doku. In comes the rest of the frontliners for Sens, going for Moex. He's gonna drop him immediately. Next on the Oki is gonna be Florikyu, and actually at the same time, going for Henry. Henry, not gonna even worry about the dog right now. He has Permafrost to keep himself alive, but Florikyu going back to him just gets chased down like a dog.
And speaking of dogs, Scotty is caught, thrown up into the air, and brought down. Surrender vote starts. Surrender vote goes through. Sens, not quite as badly as the side of Victoria's Secret did, but they give it to Novus Orsa, and Novus Orsa just get embarrassed.
That is not a great look, but any final words? Because I imagine, considering how short that game was, we probably want to keep this fairly short as well.
Yeah, I mean, Novus Orsa, they got beat, and they're going to have to do everything different, basically, next time. I mean, there's nothing that they should keep from this one. They're going to have to come up with a new strategy for game number 2.
We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, God.
Welcome back, everyone. Pleasure to have you here. Very quick start back up. This is going to be the actual final game of the day. Excuse my little faux pas from earlier on. Now, Sens is going to be sticking with the first pick this time around. Novus also on the Chaos side. And I can understand why they want to go first pick because... Oh, sorry, actually, I take that back. Novus also is going to be taking the first pick now. I'm bloody dumb. What's going on with me today?
Same thing as every other day, Verb. And actually, they banned away Fafnir and Ganesh, taking that one away from the side of David Arnaz. And Ardio and Terra also taken away. So lots of shots at the Guardians. First pick going over to the side of Novus Orsa. A lot of priority in the Camazotz ban today. Wouldn't be shocked to see it picked up here just because of how much they seem to like it. No, they're going to go back to the Wukong and maybe this time around give their poor solo laner a little bit of assistance. As instantly snap pick Osiris, they're just going to run that matchup right back to where it was before. And Sens are definitely hoping for similar results.
Yeah, if they can try and keep that in the wraps, sure. Looks like there's a somewhat similar drafting pattern coming through. The bans is the biggest thing for me. Novus also wanting to get rid of the Ganesh and also getting rid of the Fafnir. So they do not want Sens to get any real sort of comfort picks. But Novus also drafting a little bit more towards mid-early, grabbing the Onhu and the Hunbat. It's a bit of a zoo team right now. Lots of animals.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is the Barnyard coming out here as Soul and Camazotz as well picked up by Sens. So we saw a lot of priority in the banning of Camazotz. This is going to be the first time we see him get through. Might get to see a little bit of why EU favors this character so much. Kronos and Freya instantly taken off the board. They do not want those magical hunters on the table. While Khepri and Geb as well, they're really taking shots at David here. And I respect that because of how well he played last game around. But even with all those Guardian bans, it's going to be a hunter that they pick up. Oh, hey, fam, Jing Wei enters the fray.
But the hub will be the immediate riposte by Novus Orsa. That's going to be a bit of a curious matchup for me because Camazotz, of course, needs to get a lot of those cams under control. He can regenerate very well. So if the Hubber, who I imagine is going to be going to Moex because we mostly see Hubber in the jungle these days, if he can, if Rise Grimoire can sustain himself through, that's an Ymir.
Yeah, it's Ymir with a Hebo. So Novus Orsa kept dying a whole bunch last game. So their solution was, let's pick a less safe team composition. Odin going to be the final selection here. I'd imagine that one is going to go the way of the side of good old-fashioned David, and it will indeed be his selection here, so nothing too unusual. It will be Moex playing that character. There wasn't going to be any Hunbats mid or any shenanigans like that, so it's just going to be... And again, Moex going for that same strategy. He's picked up the boots tier 1, or boots all the way. Cooldown boots selected, but he's got the blink, so he's... I don't know. I feel like Novus Orsa is inviting trouble right now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to echo the sentiment you said early on. Novus also had a really bad time with survival early on, so they draft a composition which does have survivability in its abilities, but that's going to be pretty much one-shots or little bits here or there. There isn't consistent massive amounts of escapes that don't involve being something taken out of the damage rotation. For instance, with Flurry Q loves running a more aggressive style of Hunbats using the somersault for a slow, but if Sens is able to get back up and rolling like we saw before, David Arnaz is going to keep dropping that cage so much. Flurry Q and Henry, especially, if he gets involved in the fights, will have to use their jumps more evasively, and that's going to drop their DPS to quite a huge degree.
Yeah, and the nice thing is that at least 3 members of the side of Novus Orsa can get out of that Odin ring. Most notably, though, Moex. He cannot. And that, again, just kind of inviting trouble. He's got the blink, but that really shouldn't work at a competitive level. The level 1 blink Habwa mid... Sens have to punish this. Sens absolutely have to punish this. And right now, actually, in the jungle, Flurry Q and Iport going for the invade. It's successful, and Grimoire and Gondrasix just not around to punish them in a very weird way. And already double kill in the dual lane. Novus Orsa turning things around quickly. Frezzy and Henry snag away Arnea's and Alfred's lives.
That was not good looking. While all that was happening in the jungle, there was also a fight happening in the duel at the same time. And it ends up, unfortunately in this case, David Arnaz dying to minion fire. And Alfred did end up dying to Henry. But Novus Orsa getting off to a cracking start, so maybe this ends up being a bit more of an even start, but we did see something like this in the first game when Novus also got an early lead, and then it went downhill.
The difference here kind of being that, yes, you would expect the more aggressive lane coming out of the Ymir on her, definitely. And right now, Arneas, they're looking at him again. They're going to freeze him out. He shouldn't fall here, or will he? As he's trying to run away. Flurry Q also making the rotation, but it doesn't matter. There's just a weird lack of response so far coming out from Sens, where we just don't see Gromori really kind of being in the right places at the right times. And Camazotz is a character that needs to get this ball rolling because all he offers is damage. And if a character that only offers damage gets behind and doesn't really do any damage, he's just kind of there. And I mean, there's characters that offer, sure, he's got the slow, he has revealing, but with his screech, but it's just not the same as having the Wukong, or not the same as having the Osiris or something like that, where they can offer something other than damage. Gromori is almost exclusively damage, and iPort seems to have learned lessons from the last game and is just on full alert at all times that Gromori might just be lurking around the corner.
Yeah, and Gromori also can bring that sustain as well around the map. We're going to see left-hand side, however, going to interrupt. Going to be a 3-man gank onto Alfred Me, but Alfred Me, of course, being a Jingwei, has the airstrike blinked by Frezzy, attempts the freeze, and he gets absolutely nothing. There is simply too much speed available to a Jingwei to where a Blink Ymir can catch up unless you're right on top of her.
Yeah, especially just, I mean, the boots one alone makes it's such a subtle thing, but it just adds so much more to this already mobile character. She's not the easiest character to gank, but the easiest thing to take right now for the side of Novus is going to be the red buff as well. They're just going to invade on top of it. And now David, he looks as though he wants the fight onto Frezzy. Frezzy going to throw up the wall to keep Alfred from really properly pursuing here. So Frezzy's going to just kind of walk away alive. And again, just no response coming out from Sen so far.
Sens is taking a more reserved approach this game so far, and unfortunately that has, well, reserved except for the very, very early part of the game. They were thinking of aggression, but then Novus also slapped them on the hand, so they moved back from the bush and are now instead taking a more safer style. They're farming on their camps appropriately. They're trying to keep the lanes nice and pushed up too, or at least fight for them. Novus also is doing a pretty good job as well of fighting for that, and that's going to be a good option for both teams because after that last game, Novus also probably wants as much time as they can get to actually stabilize.
But why is Gromori and Gondreshnik not going more aggressive? Is really just kind of the question I'm posing here. There's just no response from the jungler, and you're playing Camazotz, and I cannot imagine that Camazotz is being prioritized for his, late game hyper carry potential. It's got to be that early game burst damage that he brings to the table, which Camazotz has in space. And hold that thought, actually, David is blinking in, looking at Moex. The leap, though, coming out, jumped underneath from Moex, and now Gromori has made the rotation. They will finally find Moex, but it's not enough time for Frezzy to make the rotation. And Frezzy, he's got the ultimate charged up, double kill. Frezzy shuts them down.
But Rise Gromori says, no sir, we're not going to make this a clean shutout in the mid lane. Bat out of hell kills off Flurry. You're going to make it a 2-for-2 trade. Sends now on the back foot because Gondreshnik has to use the ultimate as an evasive maneuver. Novus also charging straight back in. Going to keep things nice and even.
I think something that's easy to forget is comfort. When you see the kind of these picks, like you see the Ymir, and Ymir's a weird pick here. Frezzy loves this character. And this is a character that when last season Frezzy was on Hungry for More, which eventually became Obey, when he was on that team, he joined up and he made a name. He brought them basically back up to DreamHack from being the last thing. As Gondreshnik's going to solo out Ipor. That's something more what we're akin to seeing with Osiris. But he picked Ymir to do that. He played Ymir in almost every single game that he played when he first joined the team. So it's tough to remember sometimes that maybe this is just a comfort thing. Sitting at 3-0-1, he's got the pen boots, and Frezzy is just going to do Frezzy things really for the rest of this game.
Yeah, if he can try and keep himself in the pocket in these fights, that's where Emirs can really shine. And we've seen Frezzy was able to get right in the middle of the mid lane fight, pop his shards of ice, and get the full channel. Because Sens's attack style right now has been use all of their jumps and leaps as their evasive stuff to go in. David Arnaz, of course, on the Odin is the biggest sort of problem with this comp. Actually, speaking of knock-ups into the air, David Arnaise actually gets knocked back up there by Moex, just somehow getting away courtesy of the shield on his Raven shout. But Frezzy, a little bit too slow on the Odin, could be in a bit of a pickle.
And now blinking in is David, and he's going to go down, though, to the shards of ice. Frezzy finds one. Frezzy gets turned around on Rise. Gromori is going to find Flurry Q. Now, Iport has also made the rotation, gets 3 on the knockup. Mugs currently not in this team fight, but he's going to blink in and try and finish off Gromori. Gondrshik still jumps in, roots him out, and it's going to be Gromori still living just for now. The cudgel good enough, and Iport going to be able to find the kill, but now Iport, he could be in trouble. No mana to his name, and Gondrshik is not going to give up this chase very easily. Going to run him down underneath the tower. And hey, guess who's here? Soul is as well. Gondrshik and Doku combined to finish off Iport.
Now we're in an even game, ladies and gents. The farm is virtually identical. There's only about 900 experience and about 600 gold. At almost 8 minutes in, it's nothing to be massively concerned about. You have a look at the numbers in terms of the levels. There is very slight leads here and there for either team, but then they immediately get moved back by the other. So for all intents and purposes, we might be seeing a run back of the first game for this second one. Early on in the first one, Nova Saucer pulled ahead, and then Sen start pulling back. I'm really unsure if Sens is going to pull it off again, because Nova Sorcerer is actually starting to look quite strong now.
Yeah, this is not the same thing as game 1, though, where Nova Sorcerer kind of haphazardly walked. Well, no, they didn't even have the lead in the early game, because Gondrshik and Gromori just focused out Iport in that solo lane. They didn't even really have the lead and hold that thought again. Arnaise jumps in and is going to bring in Moex right now. Frezzy going to do what he can with the shards of ice, and Gromori kind of left by himself, and now he cannot get up into the sky fast enough. Flurry Q finishes him off, and making the rotation is also going to be Henry. Doku feeling the hurt of that on her, and brought down so low. The knockup and the bluestone good enough. Doku falls as well.
But Nova Source's next option has to be decisive. They have to go for something and then stick with it. They might consider maybe baiting Alfred Mian, but instead, they're just going to try and burst down the Gold Fury as soon as possible. And that is going to be absolutely the correct call. They had a great fight in the mid, and now they can even further extend their monetary lead by grabbing themselves a Gold Fury. Look at the spike in the graph.
The spike up is huge for Nova Source. What was, you said 900 and 600. It's now 2,600, 2,500 in favor of Novus right now. They're strutting their stuff much better right now. And I will say, I am in agreement with you. Odin having to go in right now. David just not having that same level of game that he did last time, where he was able to keep his team alive, play so very well. And hold that thought. Alfred is going to do what he can. Blinking in is going to be David, but I don't know what he's doing. He just kind of blinks in. He's going to trade his life out no matter what. Doesn't do the same damage. Finally gets him, but he's going to trade his life 1 for 1. Weird play. Ultimately worthwhile, but just a bizarre play to go for.
Yeah, Frezzy kind of acknowledges that, gonna spam Tom a little bit, say, hey, David, you got the kill. But alright, how about we quit it? Moex, however, though, has to use the ultimate, but hits no one. Gromori jukes it, and this is going to be the death. Moex is gonna wipe out and be devoured by a shark. Nova Saucer now might be overstepping their bounds a bit too much in fight. We can see on the top right-hand side, Ipor is trying to do split push things. Maybe he could have rotated over and helped, because that's what Gondrshik has been doing. He's been making his presence known, and it's been helping out with Sens, keeping this lead deficit to a absolute minimum.
Yeah, right now, I mean, Iport, though, is kind of he's doing what he can, because Gondrshik is still sitting ahead of him, level, gold-wise, but it's not by much. So right now, Iport's just trying to mitigate it, trying to do what he can. And I mean, early game, Osiris is going to be a much bigger factor in these team fights than the Wukong is. We're kind of transitioned into this mid-game stage of the game, though. So for right now, it is going to be a bit of a better time for the Gondrshik, but not for much longer. Iport will be joining in on these engagements, though, very, very shortly. Would be shocked, honestly, if he did.
Iport and Flurry Q now making their presence known around the Portal Demon. This is going to be the ideal point of contention for both teams, because this will allow them expedited access to the Fire Giant, but at the same time, Henry and Alfred Mee fighting over control of the purple buff, and that extra golden experience will definitely be welcome. But look at Sens here, D-Syncs. Sens are rescinding control of the jungle when Nova Saucer make their presence known. They know if Moex or Frezzy get their hands on them, that's going to be immediate follow-up by the other guy, and then they have to wait for Flurry Q, Ipor, or Henry to follow up. There is simply so much CC for Nova Saucer, it's forcing Sens to respect them.
And Sens, though, they've been playing scared this whole game. Right off the bat, Sens started playing scared. And ever since then, Sens have been playing scared. There has just been really no point where Sens have felt like they are trying to be the aggressors, and really they've always kind of been on their bet. With the sole exception of Gondor6, I'll say. Gondor6 has been kind of going in aggressively. And sure, Dave is going in very deep, but those are kind of more like gank opportunities of somebody's in the middle of the lane, and it's just not been great. Frezzy not going to connect on that wall, and David, he could be the first target here, but the Portal Demon fight is brewing for both squads.
Sen's going to be just kind of doing a couple of taps to port. Rise Grimoire getting the same treatment from Nova's Orsa. But again, this is going to be less of a fight and more of a skirmish, just feeling each other out. No one wants to pull the trigger first. We're back to that idea. It's kind of a Mexican standoff. David Arna's frozen, cage drop. That's not going to help me reduce the damage from the shards of ice, but the Supernova can try and melt the Frost Giant, and Gondor6 jumping in. That's a lot of ultimates dedicated to the death of one Ymir. And now Moex takes advantage. David Arna's will fall. Moex can now look for a second. Gondor6 going to wait for the shell to be falling off. iPort now going to be mainly front line for Novus also, but in comes Henri.
Ooh, Henry gonna take out Grimoire with the long range ultimate, and now Gondor6 gonna be his next target. Double kill for Henry off of beautiful plays. The perfect timing on that rotation. And now Alfred, it's up to him. He's trying to kill off Henry. Not gonna be able to get him though with his abilities, and now he's the one on the back foot. Moex chasing him down, not gonna connect with those water hands, but guess who's here? It's iPort, and Moex, he's got a second water cannon right on up. And that right there, that is the classic Frezzy death. Frezzy died, and 4 people died on the enemy team because you spent too much trying to kill Frezzy. This is what we've been kind of waiting for out of Novus Orsa. This looks much more like a cohesive unit from them. And yes, Sens played scared. Yes, Sens gave them this opportunity to kind of come back into this game. But now all the cogs are meshing together for Novus Orsa, and they're starting to put together what looks like could be a good run.
But let's see how Sens responds. We're going to see David Ace goes aggressive again, drops the cage, but there is now going to be a Blink Frezzy and a Blink Flurry Q jumping on in. Remad Doku being pressured. Ultimate used by Mercs as a defensive measure. David Arnaze, however, doesn't have such immediate jump away because he already burnt his. He's going to die to iPort. And David Arnaze now 1-6, a very different game to what we saw last game. This could be what gives Sens the disadvantage going into these fights. David Arnaze is getting too aggressive without his team to immediately follow up.
And even if they can follow up, he's not going aggressive onto the right people, really, as the Portal Demon gets dropped in favor of Novus Orsa right now. Frezzy looking forward, trying to push in aggressively here. Gonna go for Gondor6, but the ultimate is good enough to get Gondor6 out for right now. And yeah, Arnaze is just so... So last game he played the defensive Guardian. This game he plays the offensive Guardian. And it's just not working. It's really just not working out too well for him. Alfred gets the monkey toss thrown on him. Not going to teleport in though, and he is currently, they're just trying to defend this tier 1 tower, but it's really not worth their lives, honestly, and that's something that they could very likely trade out if they stick around for much longer.
Now, we should probably preface something. David Arnaze was forced onto this Odin because there were 6 supports banned out in the pick ban phase, 4 by Novus Orsa, 2 by his own team. So he's going to be using that Odin that he got from the picks and bans to cage in Frezzy and allow Remad Doku to clean it up with the ultimates.
But that being said, there's not only 6 Guardians in Smite. There's still more characters. I mean, Frezzy picked another one, so there's not only 7 Guardians in Smite. There's other characters that he could have looked for and could have picked here. And as of right now, I'm kind of under the impression that he really should have been doing that, because this Odin game, it's been nothing. It's been a game to forget, I'm sure. Although the panda skin is cool. I love seeing the panda skin. I'm always
nice.
I'm a sucker for the panda Odin skin. It's so good. It's such a good skin.
But let's go down that road. Let's go down that line of logic. So who was remaining? Sylvanas, Athena, those are 2 picks that immediately spring to mind. You don't see too much Sylvanas these days. Athena probably would have been quite nice because that would allow you to respond. Yeah,
Athena definitely would have been a better pick, in trying to think over the rest of the Guardians. There's Ares too if you wanted to go for more aggression. I don't think that would have been a great call. I mean, we could just
saw Kabrakan last set.
Yeah, no, we definitely saw Kabrakan last set. Let's never see that again. Going out here in the... at least in the support position anyways. But, I mean, we could just sit here and try and recount all the Guardians in Smite. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Athena was up. Athena could have been picked, or even go for kind of a more defensive warrior, like a Guan Yu support. I mean, that would have been really weird, but still, at the end of the day, I feel like there was options for them to go for, and instead they just kind of let Novus run the table on them. The Odin pick, it's not even a great pick into this team composition. You've got so many jumps to get out of it. Again, you're only looking at Moex and Frezia, the only two who cannot reliably get out of that cage.
Yeah, and Frezia and Moex probably don't care. They just want to try and burst down David Naze. That's why you haven't seen a Phantom used. Novus Orsa doesn't care about Odin right now. And
yeah, they don't
Sens
have a Phantom.
are going to be considering their next options for this fight, because Novus Orsa have full run of the pit here. Alfred Mee is very agile, so he can stick to the outside. We're going to see, however, Cage finally going to be drawn. David Naze is going to get bullied inside a bit. In comes multiple ultimates, including those of Shards of Ice and the ultimate from Magdoku. Going to do good damage, but Moex, however, finds and burns down David Arnaise. Rise Murray tries to bat out of the hell, but instead eats a couple of spears from Henri with a Desert Fury. He's going to try and heal it with a fire, but no, Moex gets the double.
And now iPort jumping back and looking at Alfred. Alfred, he's got nowhere to go. The Aegis, Zapman Aegis right there. iPort finally claims his life. Frezia has made the rotation as well. Gondor 6 trying to kill off somebody. It just doesn't matter though. And now Doku running away. Surrender Vote got thrown out there because nobody died on the side of Novus Orsa. No matter how low any of them got, everybody ends up living at the end of the day. The Gold Fury though, unfortunately, it's not officially on the blue team. It will not end up living. Novus Orsa have expanded their lead to 7.5k gold, 8.5k experience. This game from Novus Orsa is looking like kind of their redemption song.
I hope it is. They are desperately clawing for a 1-1. We haven't actually seen a 1-1, at least on the EU side of things.
No.
It has been a lot of 2-0s, so maybe this is going to be the first time we see actually a team split in a set. Send. Won't want that to happen, though, considering the standings.
Yeah, and I mean, next week as well, looking at it, Sens have the unfortunate luck of having to play against Victoria's Secret to try and sneak their way out of relegation to, I believe if this set splits, Victoria's Secret is all but guaranteed to make it through relegation. No, they are guaranteed to make it to be out of relegation. If this set ends up splitting. There we go. That's how the English language works.
Yeah.
But for the side of Sens, that's unfortunate that they would have to 2-0 Victoria's Secret in order to avoid it. Novus Orsa, still an uphill battle. They'd have to 2-0 New Game Plus, but that's definitely not as bad as being thrown Victoria's Secret, who, again, right now, they just look like they're the better team than pretty much everybody else. And haven't really seen a whole lot to kind of suggest that that would not be true. But for right now, for the side of Novus, they need this. They absolutely need this win, not only to avoid relegations, but also to just avoid morale being crushed away from them.
Yeah, it can be so easy in these kind of runs through Challenger. We've seen it time and time again through the various splits and seasons. You can often see teams, yeah, they'll start great, they'll have a couple of bad games, and all right, let's have some role swaps. Now, sometimes that can be the option to, get a player booted if he's not having a good enough synergy, not playing up to a certain standard you expect. But sometimes teams can throw in the towel before they really can flourish. And we've seen so many times now in various leagues in SMITE, not just Challenger, the element of, oh, hey, we can start making the comeback. We just need a little bit more time. Unfortunately, time is not on any team's side this split.
Unfortunately for Gondor 6, it might not be on his side either, as Flurry Q jumping in, looking to finish him off, drops the Fear No Evil, and Gondor 6 drops out of the map. Respawn timer for him, Fire Giant, it's going to have a much longer respawn timer, and it will be done indeed. Novus Orsa, they've got the Fire Giant, and the split push attempt coming out right now from Sens, just to kind of recuperate anything, but a tier 2 for a Fire Giant, plus 1 life. Hate to say it, but I definitely would call that worth for the side of Novus Orsa.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Grabbing themselves Fire Giant and Portal Demon, not only can they drive momentum now straight into this tier 2 tower on the right-hand side of the map, but Sens have to respond. They can't continue trying to exploit the opening that's on the left-hand side of the map, because they have to respond to this instead, and that is not only going to increase Nova Orsa's success, but that's going to slow down Sens' plans at the same time.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, they're going to be able to charge down this right side Phoenix. There's almost no way that Novus Orsa can defend this Phoenix right now. And it does appear as though, I mean, you've got Doku to kind of rein in that long-ranged artillery, but again, it's just not going to be enough. thanks to the healing coming out from that Fire Giant. It's not much, but it is something, and the longer these fights go, the more in favor the fights are going to be for Novosaurus. I mean, honestly, that Fire Giant heal is probably going to be more effective than the Raw heal was last game at this rate, because they're just all waiting for the opportunity to go in. Monkey Bounce does not connect, and I'm going to assume that it's going to be either Flurry Q or Frezzy looking to start this one off with a Blink Initiate.
But both teams, again, back to the Mexican standoff. No one wants to pull the trigger first. Novus also do have blinks available, 4 blinks in fact. They could absolutely dive the backline, but Sens have beads, Aegises, shells. They have many ways to negate that damage, so they have to be smart about how they engage. iPort goes in first for the backline, disrupting Doku, putting him down to half health. David Arnaiz didn't even exist. Novus also just devoured him like a swarm of locusts. Sens now gonna have to be wary of their mage and their carry. They both got hit by iPort. iPort has been doing silly amounts of damage. He's up to just shy of 15. Frezzy, what are you doing? I'm done. Frezzy.
That is the classic Frezzy.
What was that
phase.
jump flurry? You jumped straight up and down into the ult. This is turning into a bit of carry on Smite now. What are you doing, Novus?
This is exactly what I'd expect from a Frezzy team. Is exactly what's going on right now. Grimoire, Gondor6, he is going in, trying to do what he can. Grimoire with him. Doesn't matter. Fear No Evil is available. Moex not going to fall, though. Grimoire just barely going to be able to make it away from these shards of ice. Alfred Me trying to get out as well. And right now, the tier 2 tower is still the target. Blinking in was Grimoire, but he misses his abilities onto Moex, and now he has to run away. Forced to pop the beats just for the slow. David Arnaiz, familiar story for him this game. He is going to fall, looking a bit like Frezzy right now, honestly. And now Alfred trying to duke it out 1 versus 2. The Tiger stunned Alfred Me.
Alfred has so much time. He had so much time to get the kill with explosive bolts. But not only was there Moex, he had his Juke shoes on, or rather the Juke surfboard. But iPort had next level body blocks. Alfred was having every single attack either evaded or blocked. And now Novus also are moving in for the first ever split of the EU side of the Challenger circuit.
At least for the fall time, and this will keep the dreams alive for both Novus and Sens. It's going to be an uphill battle, but they can potentially squeak by and avoid relegations. But congratulations are in order. Novosaurus, they find their first win, and because they do so, Victoria's Secret, they will not be being dropped into relegations at this point. They are safe. They have confirmed their way through. There's no way that they're going to be trying to play for a spot. No real big shocker there. New Game Plus, they're in a bit of danger, but still sitting comfortably. They just got to win 1 more game. But for now, Novosaurus and Sens, life shown from both of these teams that kind of got decimated week 1. Game number 1 looked really good for Sens. Game number 2 looked really good for Novus. And the standings being thrown up right now, just to kind of confirm over what I was saying before.
Yeah, Victoria's Secret now, top dogs, 2 matches, 2 wins, nice and squeaky clean. New Game Plus had a little bit more of a dirty time, going to be sitting on the split because, of course, Nova's also able to battle them down into that. But, ladies and gents, in a couple of minutes, SPL's coming up, so we don't want to keep you for too long. Thank you all for watching. We sincerely appreciate your patronage. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week. I'm Verbalocity. That's been Desync. Shout out to our astronomically large admin team for this stuff. Shout out to our production guys as well, Extreme and Anovi. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you guys next week.